It reminds me of maybe an episode of like I want to dip my balls in it from Kids in the Hall.
Oh, from Kids in the Hall.
I want to dip my balls in it. What can we dip our balls in?
I guess I gotta go revisit Kids in the Hall.
It's been a long time.
I think that show passed me over because it was not as easily like accessible. I know of it and I know who was in it and whatnot, but it wasn't like as.
I gotta go to the zoo and watch the monkeys make amore. I'm sorry. It's a great show.
I remember liking it at the time. I just don't remember it that well because I haven't watched it in so long.
Oh,
it's been so long since like it was.
Reference. I'm sorry.
Where like is it on any of the streaming platforms to watch?
I don't know. I used to watch it on like Comedy Central.
Right, that's when I would see it, but I haven't like watched actual TV in I don't like a decade.
Yeah, I'll find out because that was a good show.
Fair enough.
Clock is ticking, Andy. Give us that cold open.
What the fuck?
Why is it all fall on him? He's like,
I want to dip my balls in it. Wasn't good enough for you?
I like to have a few choices.
A few choices of things to dip your balls in?
Your standards are really high. I want to dip my balls in it. You have to say it like that. I want to dip my balls in it. I'm going to tag you all on those videos.
Paula's commitment, I think, has just made the cold open.
Yeah, she's committed to dipping her balls in something.
I want to dip my balls in it.
You could make a YouTube channel of taking different balls and dipping them in different things. And just call it, I want to dip my balls in it.
Do you think there's a copyright problem if I use that line?
No one's listening. It's fine. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Bry Guy and his Super Friends. I'm your host, Brian Labick. Joining me for this episode is the Andalorian, Andy Stolz.
What's up, podcast people?
Raylo's time has come and gone. Is it still her Halo? We've got Paula Miller.
Raylo will always be my Halo, and it's canon.
It is canon.
Kinda.
Canon.
We're doing another movie list. So of course we've got our Mr. Movie Slut here, Josh Zorich.
I'm thinking of retiring that and looking for a new title for 2020. I know I imposed it on myself, which I'm not complaining about, but I think
movie winch. Fetch me a movie winch.
We'll workshop this, but that's a thought.
And you knew him as Darth Pooey to his besties. He's now leveled up to Tyrannus. It's Mike Bradley.
Hey guys, I'm here. I'm doing this thing.
Might as well have just said present.
Yeah. He did the intros for us. He doesn't usually do that. I was not prepared for him to like be the intro guy for all of us this time.
I've got
just
the names.
Like Andy Stolz, and then he's just like, here, Andy, do your thing. Here, you do your thing. We didn't even get a what's up podcast people. Like, can we get that, Andy? I'm sorry.
Did you?
I did. I did it.
You did.
Did you
pay attention? What the fuck?
Did you black
Probably.
out?
He's been throwing me off. It threw me a curveball when he was doing all of it. No, we don't need to do it again. This is perfect.
Raylo is my Halo.
What's up?
I'm thinking of new names. Anyone have ideas?
I forgot everything that just happened.
It's so terrible for people that listen. It's just going to sound like a just gerbled mess of crap. But they'd expect nothing less.
I think we all just sounded like all the Jedis talking over each other to Rey at the end there. So
the podcast force users.
That's a compliment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
These are your first.
Toward a new name.
All right, so I know we just did a top 10 episode, so we're back for another one. So I hope you enjoyed the last ones because we enjoy doing them. So we're just gonna keep coming. I know I can't remember even who I talked to, but we tossed around the idea of possibly a third top 10. I can't remember if I talked to Mike or somebody else.
You mentioned it.
Okay, yeah, possibly doing. We'll see if I can get anybody to do it, or if we're interested. Maybe do top 10 of the decade. Do the last 10 years.
Intense.
It'd be a tough list.
I like it though. I like the challenge of it.
So we'll have to brainstorm and come back to that. So I don't know if it'll be next week or a couple weeks to give ourselves some time to do it, but I think it's a good list to do. And so if this is your first episode for or listening to us for our list, this is sort of our formula. Each of us has put together our own top 10 favorite movies of the year. We haven't compared our list before, so we'll all be learning what each other's picks are as we go down the lists. We give ourselves a few other categories as well, like honorable mentions, surprises, disappointments. Honorable mentions are the movies that just missed our top 10. Surprises, we usually try to categorize as movies that surprise us, just a little bit more enjoyable than what we maybe expected going in. And disappointers are movies that came in below our expectations. I really try to refrain from calling this category bad movies, because how you feel about a movie is subjective, and everyone has their own opinion. If I hated a movie, you might love the same movie. That's perfectly fine. We're all entitled to our own opinions. So I continually encourage everyone that if you're curious about any of the movies we talk about, whether we say it's good or bad, go watch them, decide for yourself if you like it. We, of course, do our reviews for some of these, which we've probably done over the past year. But all we can tell you is what we think. We're not going to tell you what you think. So just go ahead and check it out. I will at least throw out the asterisks that Paula's surprises and disappointments are going to be slightly different. So we'll explain when we get there. I also want to assume that people listening are looking for recommendations for movies to check out. Maybe there's stuff you missed that you're just curious what everybody else thought. So going over our lists, we will be doing this spoiler-free. We don't want to spoil any of the movies just in case you hear something that sounds interesting. You want to go check it out for yourself. We're not going to tell you how it ends or spoiler, details of it. This is more of a recommendation podcast. So I think that's about it. We've determined our order before we started recording. So we're going to go Josh, Paula, Andy, Mike, and then me. We're going to go around the horn with everybody's 10, go down to everybody's 9, and so on and so forth up to our favorites of the year. I'm going to try to do this on the fly as we've done in the past. I'm going to go down the Rotten Tomatoes rankings for critics and fans and see how everybody's lists rank when we're all done.
Hold on, let me change my list so I win.
Not that there's really like a prize or anything to give out. I just always thought it was kind of a fun stat to see if someone picks terrible movies rated by the fans or critics or what. So, all right, I think that's all the setup I need to get through. So we're going to start with Josh for his number 10.
Well, first I'd like to say I like the vibe that's being set. It's a very, very good, positive thing. It's more of a light a candle, don't curse the darkness kind of setup. I like it.
We try.
Definitely. Coming in on my number 10, well, which, funny that I just said that, is a really kind of messed up horror movie. My number 10 is the follow-up to It. It is Chapter 2. I actually really enjoyed this more than I thought, and the fact that it's more than I thought I was going to. The fact that it is at 10 is not necessarily a reflection of that it was bad by any means. I actually really dug what they did with all the adult characters. I was not familiar with the second half of the story. I never read the novel, and I never saw the second half of the old miniseries. So I went into this like really cold and didn't really know what to expect. But all the actors, they put a really good cast together, in my opinion. I think my only lament is that I kind of wish Bill Hader had more screen time. Seeing him in that kind of elements, I really dug him. But I just, like, it felt like more time was devoted to some of the other characters, but I liked everybody's arc. It was like automatically one of those things where you have, a group of people, so you have to then manage diverging storylines as they come in and out of each other and then through a main narrative. So I think the director did a really good job with that, and the writers. I think the same director did this that did Chapter 1. So it came together really nicely. I had a good time.
Was it written by Stephen King as well?
Yes.
Like the screenplay?
Okay. Yeah.
Oh.
I don't believe so.
No.
Okay. But he wrote a second book? I didn't know that.
No.
It's all just one book. When they made the mini series back in the day, and then with this, it's such a long form story that just for storytelling purposes, they chopped it up into 2 pieces.
Got it.
Yeah, the book is like 1,300 pages.
Yes, I've read the book, but I've never seen any of the movies.
Long.
And Mike brought up something cool to me recently, I think, right? Were you the one that was saying that you heard that
the master cut?
Yeah, this master cut where I guess in the book they go with like a more non-linear storytelling where they're like back and forth between the younger and older storylines, and so they might release a like 4 to 5 hour cut of the movie of both chapters combined, more utilizing that method.
Yeah,
supposedly that would be really cool.
Lots of rumors about it happening. I've not seen anything official yet, but obviously that's going to take a bit of production time to put together. So, editing time, I guess. Not really production, but hopefully we get to see that sometime soon.
Yeah, I think the last thought about this that I'd say is that I really dug that this one in particular didn't rely on as much of a terror element as I feel Chapter 1 did. I think it wanted to unsettle the audience by showing you how shook up each of the adults were as they navigated through like returning to each other and dealing with Pennywise again. It wasn't necessarily as much about, the demon clown thing instilling terror into the children. But it was done to really good effect, I thought.
Did anybody else see this? Because I didn't, so I can't. I obviously did not, so I can't contribute to this conversation.
I didn't see it either.
I guess I'm the only other person who's seen it. I enjoyed it. It doesn't make my list anywhere, but I did enjoy it. But I actually like the first chapter better myself. And it's like I feel like there was a lot of good movies this year. Is the reason this didn't make my list. Not so much because I, have anything bad to say about it. I just feel like there's a lot of other really good stuff. But this movie itself, I agree with what Josh had to say about it. It followed a different path to the terror. And I think overall it will fit better together with the master cut. And I feel like that will be something I enjoy a lot more than I did this segment. Personally, I think once it's all together, I'll have more appreciation for what was there.
We will have to have a movie day planned for that to happen then, if they put that out.
That's a long movie day not really.
If they do it, is it going to be direct to video?
I don't know.
That'd be interesting if they could do.
That would be a long theater release.
I mean, they've done Marvel marathons and stuff at the theater, so I wouldn't put them past hey,
they could do like a
special
event thing.
Yeah, that's possible.
Like if you want to see the master cut, you can see it in the theater for like a week or 2.
What I had heard was like
it's a good idea.
A planned DVD or Blu-ray kind of thing.
Right.
Which if I had to put money on it, that would be the way to go. I'm just thinking like if they wanted to do a theater release, they probably could.
Yeah, they could probably get some people in theaters for that, just to have an intermission at some point and move people along.
I like it.
All right, so we'll move on to Paula for her number 10.
Hello. My number 10 is not gruesome at all. It is actually Aladdin.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think there was a lot of worry about this movie because we were all excited that Will Smith was cast as the genie, but being in Robin Williams' shadow, I think there was a lot of questions about how this was going to work, and honestly they did it really, really well. Guy Ritchie directed, which I thought was very strange choice to pick for a Disney movie, a live action Disney. I mean, this is a Disney version of a live action movie. So I'm like, well, I like Guy Ritchie. I like his style. So I just thought this was very odd. But it all came together. The cast was amazing. Fun fact, Alan Tudyk was Iago.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I actually didn't know that. That's pretty cool.
I'm just going to assume any voice actor that I don't know from now on was Alan Tudyk.
Alan Tudyk?
Yeah.
Did you know that was Alan Tudyk?
But I really thought it was an awesome adaptation. Like, they added like a song for Jasmine for like girl power, and it was, you know, one of those moments like, yeah, it was in there. It was good. Okay, girls, all right. We're all singing it. It's awesome. But it was a beautiful. The backgrounds were beautiful. The costume was beautiful. The actors did a great job singing. I'm assuming that was them singing. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. I took Aaron. Of course, he's like, that wasn't as bad as I expected it to be. So that's always a win. But yeah, Will Smith, I think, did an awesome job. And it actually starts out with him on a boat telling a story. Did you guys see this? Did you see it?
Yes, I did.
Yes.
I did not see it.
Yeah, so it starts with him like on the boat having him not blue. Starting out telling the story, and you're like, oh, what's all this about? He's not blue. But yeah, I think it like, came full circle really, really well, and I enjoyed it. So it is my number 10.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I feel like we talked about it because it was on a couple people's list for anticipated. It made my list. It made your list.
It was on mine. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we were all sort of worried about what Will Smith was if he was gonna Will Smith it, or be able to do something different with it. Because Will Smith, I love Will Smith, but he a lot of his roles are just him being Will Smith and stuff. And
right.
Will Smith and stuff.
Yeah. I
That's
mean,
a thing.
there was some of it. It's still got his flavor to it and stuff like that. But yeah,
Definitely.
I think he did do a lot better job than I expected.
I think the greatest part of that was on display when Paula. I know you know the answer. What is the name of the song where he brings Aladdin into Agrabah for the first time as the prince?
Prince Ali.
Prince Ali.
Yeah.
I think you almost like they took care of that and let him get that out of him in that number more than any other time.
Yeah.
But not that it was bad at that moment per se, but like it you sort of got it out of your system.
That was his Will Smithiness. Yes.
Yeah.
Because you could definitely like growing up with the Robin Williams and memorizing every word of that song.
Yeah.
I mean, we could all sing it, and it's just like, this is so different, but I gotta let it be different. Like it can't be Robin Williams, and I'm sure that for any other actor, that's got to be so intimidating.
Right.
Like,
Especially
step into
that role.
Absolutely.
And it's got to be somebody who's strong enough to like carry it. And I was really surprised that I enjoyed it as much as I did. So it is my number 10.
This actually is my number 10 as well.
Yay!
Wow.
Validation.
We got to write today on the calendar. Paula and Mike actually agreed on something.
What?
We did. Our number
Rainbows
10.
and butterflies and Aladdin. Nice.
Disney brings people.
I agree
we be
wholeheartedly
friends?
about
Why
Will
can't
Smith.
we
I was
be friends?
going into this year. I was anticipating being thrilled with the Lion King live action and disappointed by Aladdin because of the way Will Smith looked and because of the way the Lion King advertising looked, and boy was I wrong. So yeah, Will Smith as the genie worked. They made everything in this movie work. It was a little bit, again, being different was good.
Yes.
The different was good here because the original holds up to watch it separately from this, and they didn't do a shot for fucking shot remake. I think Brian had lamented about this in the past.
Yes.
And yeah, like it definitely like it's in my number 10 slot for a reason. That's a big thing for a movie like that to make my 10 slot. I had a great time with it. The only thing that felt a little off to me was the guy as Jafar. I felt was a lot more sinister than Jafar actually was in the cartoon, because I felt like he was more cartoonish in the cartoon. I mean, there was more cartooniness to him, but it worked on a lot more levels than I think their other remakes into live action have done so far. So, my top 10 as well. You can skip me when it comes to me.
Fair enough. Andy, anything to add for Aladdin?
I did not see it.
Okay.
That is your loss.
Yeah, I know.
You're
Check
lost,
it out, man.
buddy.
It's a lot better
You're
than you
lost.
think
And
it would be.
it's on. I want to say it's on Disney Plus right now. Just recently.
It actually
added.
just got there. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's definitely something I am going to watch now that I've heard everyone say yay about it. So
Yeah, when the Lion King gets there, just don't.
Yeah. You've seen that movie.
I don't
This is
know.
better
That was
before.
one of my favorite animated ones. So
Or fast forward to all of Timon and Pumbaa's scenes
Yes, yeah.
and then keep going.
Yeah.
I mean, if you
and-
want to
and
see
don't
literally
look-
the same movie again, go ahead and watch
well,
it.
literally the same movie except for the best musical number, which got cut because
Right.
Chiwetel
Oh,
Ejiofor cannot sing. So you don't get the what's the name of the song? Be
Be
prepared. Be
Yeah.
prepared just is non-existent. It's not there.
that's one of the best parts.
Exactly. And it's not there.
Which, to go off on this tangent very quickly, we Sarah and I just finished the Watchmen. We took it in over like the last couple of days, and Jeremy Irons is in that, and just remembered like how much he
It
is
opened that
amazing.
wound again.
Yeah, and then like to bring this up, I'm like, oh man, he was freaking great as Jafar. Like that number especially,
The
he
Scar.
just crushes
Scar.
it. Yeah. Oh, but did I say Jafar?
You
You
did.
did.
Yeah.
Oh, whoops.
It's okay.
That-
We were talking
just
about Aladdin too. So
Putting
it's
him in
okay.
every movie. It's
They
fine.
rhyme.
Yeah. Put Jeremy Irons into every movie. But yeah, you can skip that one. Honestly, you've seen it. Brian's right.
Anything else for Aladdin? Nothing? Okay. Andy, number 10.
My number 10 was Shazam.
Oh, nice.
I thought it was a very enjoyable movie. I really liked Zachary Levi in the movie. I thought it was light and funny, and it had just enough like superhero type stuff to it that it was able to captivate my attention.
Yeah, spoiler alert, that's going to make, well, it was going to be one of my honorable mentions. It did not make my top 10, but it's just, yeah, it was just outside. Because I love Zach Levi. I feel like I've expressed my love for him in the past numerous times. I
Pittsburgh.
love Chuck. Yeah. Is he a Pittsburgh guy?
No, that's Zachary Quinto.
Yes.
No, it's both of them.
Are you sure?
I heard him say it himself in an interview.
Okay.
Ew.
I didn't think he was. All right.
All right,
He
it
was
is-
in an
it
interview
is
on
time
like
to
the Rotten,
call someone
or
to the carpet.
The Rooster Teeth podcast. I watched him on an interview say something about being from Pittsburgh.
Huh. All right then. Well, even more reason to like him. But you know, most of the stuff he's in, he's always got that. He's one of us. He is a geek at heart with all of us, and I love that about him. And having him get this role, I feel like was such a big. Like I felt happy for him. I don't even know the guy, but I was
Yeah.
like, yes, he is. Yes, give him.
And you
this.
could tell when you were watching the movie that he was having fun doing.
Yeah, he is
exactly
thrilled to
what
be
he
Oh,
was
there.
very
doing.
much.
You know, so
And-
I enjoyed him. Just I don't know. He was perfect for it.
Yeah,
And,
I agree.
and the bulk that he put on for that role too.
yeah, yeah.
My goodness, he put on a lot of bulk.
I
I
want-
mean, he was not a very big guy when he was
No.
on Chuck, and he's beefy in
I-
that role.
I wish we knew what direction like the DC universe was going with movies and stuff like that, because I want him and Henry Cavill Superman in a movie together so badly. I
That
think
would be
that'd
a
so
really
much fun.
good.
It's going
Dynamic.
West and North. That's where it's going.
It's going what?
West and North.
I don't know what that means.
Neither do they.
That's fair. Yeah, DC doesn't know what the hell they're doing. Yeah. Anything else
Did
to
we get
add
confirmation, Josh?
for Shazam?
Did you look like you were looking it up?
All that the bio that I can find says that he was predominantly raised in Louisiana.
Like Charles.
I'm not going to say that's gospel, but I don't care to research anymore. But I could tell you're already starting the Google machine, so I'll give my 2 cents while you're doing that. I agree, Andy. This was delightful. I thought my only hang up with it, this actually would have been a bit higher for me, I think, if and I'm kind of stealing this thought from something else I read last spring after its release, which honed in on why I thought something was odd about it. I think if they had done a better job of showing me that Billy Batson as a young teenager had some of the impulses that Shazam displays as this big adult, I wouldn't have felt as much of a little bit of a disconnect in his own character. Like, I don't get
I
the
agree.
sense that Billy Batson, the 13-year-old, gives a shit to go to a convenience store and buy beer. Like, if he
Yeah,
could, he would. I don't get that sense necessarily.
It's supposed to be the same character, but they play him like two different almost.
A little bit too much. I wouldn't say entirely, but like just a little bit too much. But that's the only slight critique I would have of it. But otherwise, yeah, it was extremely fun. And Mark Strong needs to be given some kind of comic book movie participation award. This was like his fifth in in a different role in a different franchise. So like good for him. I enjoy the hell out of him too.
Yeah.
And yeah, just that's a good slot for it.
Paula, did you get to see this one?
I did. It's a little bit higher up on my list.
Okay.
Hey.
But yeah, I was very surprised at the end. I don't know anything about Shazam, so I went
Same.
into it like very blind. And
Yeah, no specifics.
no, I just enjoyed myself immensely, and I'm glad to hear that there's going to be a second one,
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Did not know that.
2022.
I knew that Black Adam was supposed to have The Rock in it, but I heard that was sort of like in production hell. So
I don't know when that's happening. They announced that
Right.
way before Shazam even.
right,
Yeah.
that's what I mean. It's in some kind of production hell.
We'll get that 2 months after The Flash.
Hopefully, we'll get Shazam too.
Yeah.
I think you'll get that. Shazam made money.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it was well received enough. I think they found a nice little sweet spot that I know it came out after Wonder Woman, came out after Aquaman, but if they, to some degree, if they don't either care or worry as much about, this big connected universe, and they just find a slot and a mood for each of their characters to fall into, that's fine. Keep making Shazam movies like this. That's great.
Yeah, no, I would go to see it every time.
Are we led to believe that Shazam is connected to the DC universe?
Well, they talk about Superman.
Yeah,
but they
that's
don't
what I'm-
necessarily talk about the rest of the extended universe. Or
Like,
any
is that going to be the
events
last
in it.
one that's like officially connected? Like, we don't, because I have no idea where they're going from
He's
here.
in
with
a
all the other
Lego
ones.
set with Batman,
And how much is that, Paula?
so $39.99.
Yeah, there you
A
go.
friendly neighborhood Lego store.
I actually think the budget for the movie was a little bit lower than, so that's probably helps their return on investment. Like, it maybe not made as much as like some of the other bigger superhero movies, but costing less to make
Yeah.
makes it seem like it made more money.
Like when you said that you'd love to see him in a movie with Henry Cavill's Superman, like obviously there's a potential illusion to connectivity at some point. But when you said that, it almost made me think of like Shazam could be like the Ant-Man, like the Paul Rudd type of character in the DC universe,
Yeah.
where like he's obviously he's powered himself and has abilities, but
Yeah.
among the serious people, like him and Flash would be sort of like the Jokers and the like lighter comic relief to the rest of the brooding team.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
At least Ezra Miller's Flash.
Yeah. I'm down with that.
Yeah,
all right, anything,
that could be fun.
anything else for Shazam? Nothing? Okay. We would go on to Mike for his number 10, which we already talked about, was Aladdin, which brings us around to my number 10. My number 10, I have to be honest, I was fighting whether or not I want to put this on the list, because I was
Boy.
not sure where I wanted it to go. But I think just because as much as I had complaints and want to bitch about it, and it didn't live up to my expectations, but it's a franchise that I adore, so it almost got in here by default. Rise of Skywalker is my number 10.
10 all the way down to 10?
It is at
He
10.
barely made the list according to what he just said.
Yeah.
God.
Wow.
You can write that down. That's my number 9. So like I'm getting my thunder stolen this time. You guys are stealing all of mine. So when it gets back to me, you can skip me again.
Yeah, I wouldn't have said this was my most anticipated of 2019.
Yeah, same.
And I think a lot of that expectation for what this movie I thought should be or could be and what we got was just, it felt like such a cop-out. And I know I've said it before, like movie by internet committee that irritates the crap out of me. But on the flip side, it's still Star Wars. I love Star Wars. There's still some really cool stuff in here.
Exactly.
It's just I wanted 2.5 hours of cool stuff and not breaking my brain trying to figure out how this fits into this trilogy, because this trilogy is a mess. So for a movie that was supposed to cap Star Wars movies in general, cap off this trilogy, I don't think it did its job. It's a fine Star Wars movie, but it didn't do what it was marketed to do.
I agree.
So that's where I'm at.
I would say much the same.
You wound me.
That I was hoping for much better. There's something later on the list that did a similar thing, much deeper on my list, that we'll talk about that I feel did much better at that. But again, it's a Star Wars movie. It still has Star Wars going on here. And, you know, we talked earlier, there's 22 movies I saw in the theater, and that's not even close to the number of new movies I've seen this year. And it's still hitting number 9 because it's a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
There's still enough Star Wars there that I still had a good time watching it, you know? And as a Star Wars fan, I felt like we did a long review on this. You guys know how I felt.
I was going to say, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think during that review, you finally said, okay, this is going to make my list now.
Yeah.
That it wasn't
because
going
I was
to
talking
make your
about
top
a few
10 before.
things that like I kind of like had revelations of for myself while we were discussing them. And I was like, okay, all right. I'm not going to, like, again, this is spoiler free, so I'm not going to get into that and exactly what it is. But there were some things we said where, like, even you, when I responded, said, like, yeah, you know what, that all right, that's bringing it up in my book. And I'm like, yeah, you know what, it kind of does. And
yeah.
There's a lot of it that worked for me, and that's why it's where it's at.
Honestly, I still feel like I'm kind of digesting this movie. Like I'm finally now just going in to listen to other people's reviews and how they're taking the movie, and I feel like I'm reading and listening to a lot more people that sort of fall in line with me, which I think had me keep it at 10 other than raise it higher up my list. Is I feel like there's and maybe it's just, you know, you go on the internet, you look for, you know, stuff that how you feel, and it's easy to find people that agree with you and everything that you want to look for. So maybe that's just part of it, is I'm finding people that completely agree with my point of view.
So why don't you go out and look for people that actually really enjoyed the movie and have very good backup to that, instead of just looking for the people that totally agree with you?
And it's probably something I have to make better effort to do. But for right now, I know I know Paula's in there. I can always talk to Paula about that kind of stuff. But I think
amazing.
The stuff that I've been listening to recently has just been podcasts that I am subscribed to. It's not because I haven't subscribed to them because they feel the same way of Star Wars that I do. It's just that their reviews or thoughts of Star Wars seem to line up with mine. I wasn't going into it thinking they would, but I don't know. It's more maybe affirmation from my end. I don't know. But
the thing that's kind of like bugged me about it in the last couple of weeks, it seems like people are coming out with all this, oh, this isn't what they plan to do, oh, they're trying to revise this, they're going to try and retcon this, that, or they're going to do that. And I'm like, just shut the fuck up already. Like, the movie's done, drop it, you either liked it or you didn't, give your review and move on. You know what I mean? Like, nothing's going to change what happened on the screen. And that's something I feel like Star Wars fans have a hard time letting go of. You know, what happened, happened. And there's people in, you know, both ends that are looking for certain changes. And I'm like, just move on, you know?
And that's the thing. That's why I sort of wanted to preface at the beginning of the podcast. I'm not here to tell you that you are wrong in how you think about this movie. I'm not crazy about it. But for the people that really enjoy that movie, I'm not here to cut you down. I'm not going to be shitting on you because you like something I'm not really a fan of. But, so, you know, just, again, form your own opinion. If you like it, it's all good. We can all coexist and be happy.
Exactly.
So, you know, that's enough from Mike and I. Paula and Andy, you guys seem like you're a little bit higher up on this movie.
I'll talk about it later.
Okay.
Yeah, it's high. It's higher on my list.
Fair enough.
Oh. Fair enough. There was daggers in what Paula just said. There was definitely some malice.
I'll talk about it later.
All right, we'll swing it back around.
There was still daggers in there.
Swing it back to Josh for number 9.
Okay, well, we actually talked about mine. My number 9 was Shazam.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
right.
nice.
Then we'll go to Paula's number 9.
My number 9 is Marriage Story.
Okay.
With Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson.
That's the Netflix movie?
It is. I had to really process it. I mean, everyone was talking about it. Like,
I keep seeing a ton of
man.
memes about it, so...
Yeah. So it was it is a long movie. It's 2 hours and 16 minutes.
Damn.
And I couldn't finish it in one sitting. I had to split it up. So I did an hour and then the rest of it. It makes me very uncomfortable. It makes me think. It is very raw. These two actors are just not likable at all. Like, you don't. I mean, have you guys seen it yet?
I have not.
I plan to,
No.
but we haven't yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard it's
it's
very
It is
Heavy.
very heavy.
combative.
And if at first I want to be like, the first part is like, oh yeah, okay, she's so wrong and he's so right, and I'm like, but it's Adam Driver and I love him. And then at the end I was like, oh man, I really hate both of these people. This is a great movie. Like, it's not something that's gonna give you good feelings, but they do what they have to do, and it's like, you think about it, like, you're going through the emotions of an intense breakup, a marriage breakup, but it's still a family. It doesn't matter that they're not going to be together anymore. They're still going to be together for the rest of their lives. So it's just, Laura Dern is amazing. She deserves all the awards. But yeah, this is number 9 for me, and it is.
Yep.
It's an excellent movie that will make you feel uncomfortable. And not in like the bloody gory way.
Oh,
It's an internal
You just
blood and
lost Mike.
gore.
I was
it's
hoping
gonna-
for a turn there at some point.
Mike checked
It's
out.
you're gonna be like pulling your hair out, like, what are you doing? But in a different way. So I enjoyed it. It was an uncomfortable enjoyment.
Fair enough.
Look at me growing as a human being. It was great. Nobody died. There was no space battles. There was a courtroom and a child. There was crying. Yeah, it was something.
So no one else saw this, right? Is that what you all said?
No, but I'd
correct.
like to.
Mm-hmm.
I recommend it.
Yeah, I don't think we can contribute too much to it, Paula, but based on your recommendation, we'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll go to Andy's number 9 then.
All right, my number 9 was a long shot to make the list, and it was Long Shot.
Long shot.
Nice setup.
Wah, 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 wah. I don't know. I thought it was kind of a funny, charming romantic comedy and I'm a Seth Rogen fan, and Charlize Theron. Charlize Theron. She's a pretty good actress. So I don't know. I thought it was enjoyable.
Was it like a romantic comedy or just a comedy, or was it?
It was a romantic comedy.
Okay.
Yeah.
But like an R-rated Seth Rogen romantic
Yeah.
comedy.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, definitely like crude
Yes.
for sure. What I've been doing for this year, the first time I actually was keeping like a running list of my top 10 throughout the year, and for a long time, Long Shot was on that list.
No, it's very good.
It's awesome. I really enjoyed it. There's not a whole lot you could say. It's like a comedy. It's funny. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, if you like Seth Rogen, you will like this movie. If you like Charlize Theron, you will like this movie.
Agreed.
Interesting note. This actually happened today while I was streaming. Somebody told me I sounded like Seth Rogen. And I'm like, okay, nobody's ever told me that before. Do you guys think I sound like Seth Rogen? I don't, personally, but I got told that literally today while I was streaming.
If I had to pick a celebrity,
But I think you could sort of look like him. I think you could pass for him as Halloween.
That's
I
Halloween.
Could, yeah,
On
I
Halloween.
could do that.
You
I got
could be
like
one
the
of the
curly hair thing going on.
people,
and
yeah, like
beard
on
and-
Sunset Boulevard taking pictures, like celebrity impersonators.
Oh, well, I don't know about that. But I think I'm a little bit tall for Seth Rogen. I don't
If
feel
you
like
can-
he's very tall.
I think if you can nail Seth Rogen's laugh, I think that goes a long way.
That's the key.
No, I can't. I can't do that. You just heard my attempt.
That's the
I
best
can't.
Yeah, you sounded more like Beavis and Butthead than you.
That's what I heard.
Yeah,
too,
exactly.
yeah.
I can't. I'm not good with that.
I can't contribute. I haven't seen this one, but since everybody seems to really like it, I am going to have to check this one out. Might have to
Definitely
go back
worth
to
it.
this
I want to say it's on HBO right now, so if you have a subscription to like HBO Go or HBO Now, you could probably watch it.
one. I do not, but I might be able to steal somebody's.
There's always that.
There's always that.
All right. Anything else for Long Shot? Nope. Okay. Mike's number 9. We already talked about Rise of Skywalker. We'll flip to my number 9. My number 9 is How to Train Your Dragon 3.
Heyo.
I love this franchise. Something about these. I don't know why, but it seems like this trilogy over some of the other animated movies and franchises that I love has so much heart to it.
It really does.
It's so fucking good.
Yeah, this movie also made my list.
Yeah, they capped off the trilogy so well.
They
cried.
They did it very well. I also cried.
It wrecks you at the end.
It really does. But I feel like there were moments in each of the 3 movies that sort of brought you to tears.
For sure. Yes.
This one, they found a nice secret sauce.
Yeah.
For this.
It's a little disappointing that it's sort of like the end of that.
I know. I'd continue to see these. If they keep pumping them out, I'd go see them every time.
Maybe they'll be in episode 9. Who knows?
Yeah. But like I started even watching like there's a Netflix show and stuff, and it's
right.
I mean, it's not bad, but it's definitely not the movies.
Do they get the voice cast from the movie for the show, or is it different people?
I want to say no.
Okay.
I could be wrong. If you look at some people's IMDb pages, I think some of those, like the little specials or the quick little series that they've done, I feel like some of them have been attached, but maybe not everybody.
Yeah.
I think maybe for like the Christmas specials and stuff they do.
Perhaps,
yeah. Grab the movie voice actors.
Yeah. So secret, don't tell her, but as soon as I think we have like the extra like $20 to spare, which will probably be soon, I saw a 3-pack Blu-ray combo on Amazon, and we don't have any of them, so
you don't know those. I'm kind of surprised.
No, because for the longest time, and I don't even know if the first one is, the first one was on Netflix for years.
Okay.
And then I feel like even maybe the second one was for quite a long time, and I don't think the movies proper might not be anymore. But so like they were always accessible, so I didn't ever feel the need to. But yeah, after the third, and now that like that something like that's available, definitely that this was one of those series that I think people are gonna like slowly find if they haven't already. Like this did not have the impact, in my opinion, that something like a Shrek franchise did.
Right.
It was not like a juggernaut. It made good money.
Which surprises
and
the hell out of me, because I think this is so much better than the Shrek series.
They do a Build-A-Bear.
I
All
agree.
I see in the mall, these little dragons running around the mall.
But that's like it was not like a cultural juggernaut in the way that like a Shrek was, or a Frozen, or something like that. But they are so good and they're so solid.
Yeah.
And maybe there was, I don't know, I'm not saying this is the case. Maybe there was something to it where it wasn't as readily accessible to like the very small child crowd. And especially as like I appreciate it. Like as the stories went on, they aged the characters and and time went on. It wasn't like they didn't try to make it seem like chapter 2 and chapter 3 might have just been a week after each of the other one before. Like, and maybe that's part of it, and it appeals maybe more to an adult sensibility. Like you get the look of it, like, yay, fun dragons, they're flying around, and there's a bad guy, and there's a thing. So you have those childish elements there as the main story hooks and whatnot. But I honestly, I feel like they're more like adult stories and emotionally weighted than some of the other types of franchises can be.
Yeah, I definitely think there's some themes and things that happen in these movies that you relate to much more as an adult than a kid.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think Toy Story does that well too. Is there's something about watching them as an adult that you're like, it hits you on so many more levels. I think this franchise does the same thing.
Yeah.
For me, this one actually makes a separate list that I made that I don't think we talked about making, but I have a should have seen it list.
You didn't actually see this one.
5 movies deep that I have not seen yet. And that is one of them. If we talk about the other ones, I'll mention it when it comes. But there's 5 movies on that list that I should have seen, but I have not yet.
Yeah, definitely keep this one on it. It's a good time.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll be watching it soon enough. I just haven't gotten to it yet.
If nothing else, I
appreciated...
Sorry, Andy.
I would have made that list too, Mike, but then I would have ran out of paper.
Andy, are you like Paula? Did you only see 10 movies this year?
No, I saw 13.
Spoiler.
Oh, okay. And I think you said you had one for each of the other categories: honorable mention, disappointment, and surprise.
Well, there you go.
Your top 10 in those three. I like it.
All right, we'll swing it back around to Josh, number 8.
Okay, back to me. So this was a late revision for anticipation, but that's only because the movie literally hadn't started to get made at the end of 2018 for me to put it on, and it ended up in the number 2 slot for anticipation, and it's Jay and Silent Bob reboot.
Oh, okay,
Wow.
yeah.
I anticipated you having that higher on the list than I did.
I said I have it lower. You said.
Yeah, mine's higher than yours on
Higher
the
than
list. It's coming eventually.
And again, this is one of those like disclaimers I'll give that it's not, a value judgment against my feelings on it. I definitely enjoyed the hell out of it. I think his projects so far, the last couple, have been, they're sort of my guilty pleasure in a way. Like if you remember a few years ago, like I think the most recent Underworld movie, I think that was 2017. So when we did anticipation for that, I had it at like number 2 or 3. And
That's true.
I don't even remember if it made my top 10. That doesn't mean I still wasn't looking forward to it. It still doesn't mean I didn't enjoy the hell out of it. But just compare it against everything else. If I have to rank things, like what are my favorites, this is just, where it falls. I enjoyed every minute of this. I am, if nothing else, looking forward more to him feeling reinvigorated to find a different avenue to pursue Clerks 3 officially.
Yes.
And the fact that an official Mallrats sequel is also happening.
Yes.
I'm sure there are certain people who look at his career from the outside who aren't really invested in his stuff and absolutely call the, pandering fan service button on it.
Absolutely.
I don't really give a shit.
No, neither did I.
I 100%, because I don't know. I know that he loves what he makes and he hopes that other people enjoy it, but he is one of the few filmmakers especially that has put himself out in public for so long to such a deep degree that you don't get a movie like Tusk or Yoga Hosers if somebody is really, really going to care for a lot of people to like it. He made those projects because it is what he wanted to create and put in front of people. And I think Jay and Bob Reboot was a good start to that. And I am fine with the fact that he approached it right after nearly dying and said, if this is the last thing I do, this is the career love letter that I want to leave for myself. I'm fine with that.
And like, I think this is something worth pointing out that we, if you wanted to see Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, you actually had to seek this movie out yourself in a lot of ways to get to a theater that was going to show this. And you had to spend a good deal of money to get into a theater that was going to show it, because he did a Q&A. And he even said, like, after he had the heart attack, did he want his last movie to be Yoga Hosers? And I found that to be a funny statement. But I personally believe that, like you said, with the fan service, which this was heavy on, I felt like it was partly satire on his part, intentional satire, because it was a reboot. Yeah, well, it was parody of reboots. It was parody of the way Hollywood handles reboots and all the fan service that go into them. I felt like he was intentionally doing that kind of thing as satire.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I was okay with it. If it wasn't so obvious, well, if it wasn't satire, I feel like it wouldn't be okay. But because it's in a satirical way that he's presenting it, there it is. That was a brilliant way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And also, like you said, we're getting Clerks 3 and Mallrats 2 because of the success of this so far, and where he's going to go with those. I cannot wait to see. This makes my number 6, Brian, if you're keeping the list. Since I've only got a couple in between here and there, I can just talk about it now, since it probably doesn't make anybody else's list, I would assume.
It's my number 1.
Oh, Paula.
No,
with the number 1.
it is not. No.
Yeah, and like you said, him saying this is a love letter to his career, that's absolutely what it serves as, and it serves as excellent satire at the same time. To me, this is vintage Kevin Smith coming back through into the Askew-niverse, which I feel like we got a little bit out of for a while, and we're back into again.
Yeah, which on the one hand is okay. Like, I think Red State is one of the best movies that has been made in the last 15, 20 years.
I agree.
I think it's extraordinarily underrated. And
I agree 100%.
Out of Reboot, while I'm, I listen to all his podcasts, so I hear the same stories over and over, which is fine. But the way that he tells the sort of Ben Affleck reconciliation story is that he really didn't get wind that Ben was willing to be a part of the project until they were almost over with it. And the scene that they filmed with him was the last day of shooting, and he wrote the scene the night before. And in my opinion, it's like hands down like steals the movie. And aside from that, I was legitimately, honestly, not like just saying like a fanboy, and I was actually impressed with Jason Mewes' acting.
Yes, for the first time ever, it felt.
Is it like award worthy? Really no, but did he seem like an actor? Yeah, he did. Yeah. He really did.
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know. Kevin Smith to me is so much fun. And all the other things I would have to say about the movie is, like, I'll throw it up for, like, the crowd that you see that movie with, seeing all the people come back and seeing all the cheering happening for all the characters coming back. Mm-hmm. And the great thing, Kevin comes up on stage for the Q&A afterwards, and he says it took him a minute to figure out why the crowd was cheering so much for Joe Manganiello, because it didn't make any sense. And then he's like, wait, we're in fucking Pittsburgh. Now it makes sense. Everybody's cheering for Joe Manganiello when he shows up. And I mean, that's the type of crowd that you, like, I think Brian says it all the time, you want to see these movies with, is the real fans of the series that are going to be happy about everything happening on screen.
Yeah. Those are usually the most fun screenings to go to. Everybody's into it. Everybody's clapping, cheering. That's fun.
Yep. And for the $50 ticket price, I better be having some fun in there.
Yeah, this is a fun movie. And even if, like, you're not crazy about Kevin Smith, this is one of those movies, it's quick. It's like an hour and a half.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And just to watch it for the sheer amount of people that show up. Like, it's a who's who of Hollywood popping up in this movie, and that's just fun to see cameos.
Yeah. And it was awesome that he got so many people to come back from his prior works and reprise some of their roles, and then add a bunch of new faces along the way.
Yeah.
As well, like, who weren't around by the time that Strike Back was out, but who had been a part of his, other projects along the way. That was a lot of fun.
And one notable cameo that we won't spoil doesn't show up that should have. Unfortunately, was not there.
Yeah,
they were doing other things. We won't spoil who doesn't show up, because they kind of do, but then they don't. Made me sad.
Paula, Andy, you guys didn't see this movie, I'm guessing?
I did not see it. Nope.
I did not.
Okay.
Not that I didn't want to, but just didn't make it.
Okay.
It was in town for one night.
Yeah.
Like, it was
probably why I didn't see it.
Yeah. It was you have to go this night if you're going to see it. If you're available, good. If you're not, you're fucked.
But I think it's on Blu-ray sometime this month. Blu-ray DVD.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm glad for that.
Either that or like early February.
Right, he's still touring with it now.
Yeah, he's out till like March.
Yeah. So if you haven't seen this, if you haven't got a chance, check out the tour date, see if you can get a ticket. Definitely do that.
Mm-hmm.
Probably sold out already, though.
All right, so we'll flip over to Paula for her number 8.
My number 8 is the Lego Movie 2, the second part.
The second part.
I
The
forgot that was the
second
subtitle.
Chris Pratt is back as Emmett, and now he does a second role as Rex Dangervest,
Such an amazing
raptor,
name.
trainer, star, man, adventurer.
Starman.
Everything
Adventure.
guy.
Yeah. So he kind of plays a little version of all the Chris Pratt roles. He's this guy who goes through outer space. He has this giant fist that is his spaceship, and it's completely manned by the velociraptors. Tiffany Haddish is Queen whatever Watanabe, and it actually is a little bit of a love story. Will Arnett is back as Batman, and there's a beautiful song in there called I'm Just Not Into Gotham City Guys. This one's chock full of new music, and it was amazing. And there's a like a Lego wasteland dystopia at the beginning. I think that was backwards. Dystopian wasteland? Yeah.
Yeah.
None of us questioned it, so.
Yeah, no, it's fine. So Apocalypseburg at the beginning. It was a lot of fun. It was just a fun movie.
So the real question is, how many of those sets do you own?
Isn't that sad? None.
You
Really?
can't remake the
None.
entire Lego movie too in
In my
Can you do
basement?
that?
I cannot.
Oh man.
I have a lot from the first movie. I don't have a lot of room for the second movie, but it was fun. Everybody saw it, right?
I did.
I did. Yeah.
Yes,
not.
I did.
I would agree. It was fun. I don't remember a whole lot of details about it because it's a while ago now.
It was like almost a year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was like what, February that came
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I did see it, but I remember it being fun. I remember enjoying it, but
I think-
details I don't remember as much.
Some Star Wars
Part-
digs in there, some DC
Yeah.
digs in there. Jason
think-
Momoa showed up as Aquaman.
Oh,
I
forgot
think
about that.
part of it for me was I think I held the first one in such high esteem that I think I really wanted something awesome, like something awesome out of this movie.
Yeah.
And it was fun. I think
Everything
it
wasn't
just
awesome.
it was fine.
That was
It-
in the movie.
Yeah.
Everything's not awesome.
It still, I don't know, kind of fell below my expectations. I still enjoyed it. I just it wasn't it didn't disappoint me enough to make me disappointed, but it wasn't good enough to make my top 10. It's in the middle.
Yeah.
For me.
It's a movie that exists.
Yes.
That said, I honestly do hope they make a third.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, they are making another Lego Batman movie.
Really?
Or are they doing that before a proper sequel to like the Lego movie?
Yeah, that's what they did last time. So maybe
Oh, that's
their
true.
plan
Yeah.
is like
We
Lego
got-
movie, Batman Lego.
We got
Lego
Ninjago
movie.
in there too.
Yeah, nobody saw that. I
Yeah, I
didn't
was
see
gonna say I
that.
don't think that was as big of a release.
Nobody saw that.
See, I felt sort of the same way
watched part of
about
it.
Lego Batman as well. That I think coming off the Lego movie,
I
that
wanted more.
I a bit, but at the same time, there's always a learning curve, and there's ways to assess
Mhm.
things and see, did we like what we did before? If not, do we think we can improve, and where can we do that? So, I got a Batman sequel, a general Lego movie sequel. I will be there for both.
I think there
Yeah.
was something with the story for Lego Movie too. Like the twist of number 1 blew my mind to the point where I was like, I have to just keep watching this because I love the twist.
Yeah.
The twist of this one, I feel like I sort of saw coming, but at the same time was like so like what the fuck, that I was like it just felt largely forgettable for me. I think after I got out of the theater.
It was a very important message, though. Building together is awesomer.
The message, yeah, the message that it delivers is there. How they get there is like, what is happening?
I can agree with that.
Andy, anything to add for Lego Movie?
Stubble dogs.
I wish I had seen it.
Okay.
Yeah, don't let our potential slight criticism
Yes.
mark it down. It's definitely a good time.
I don't
It was
know.
my
It's
number
something.
8.
It
Yeah.
is something that I am going to watch.
Okay.
Just eventually.
Well, you're up for number 8, sir. What do you got?
My number 8 was Pokemon Detective Pikachu.
Oh, nice.
I thought Ryan Reynolds was pretty dang funny as Pikachu in that. I don't know. It was neat seeing how the Pokemon sort of interacted with humans in this movie,
Yes.
especially like Mr. Mime was pretty funny.
That was my favorite part.
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't expect to really like this movie, I guess, and the fact that it made it up my list a little bit says a lot. I thought, even Justice, is that his name? Justice Smith?
Yes.
I thought he did a pretty good job. I don't know. Overall, I thought it had intrigue to it.
This made the top of my honorable mentions and my surprises.
Okay.
Because I feel like looking ahead to this past year, we had kind of made a joke about like Detective Pikachu. What the hell are they doing with this movie? And why are they trying to do this live action? After having seen it, honestly, the story here was awesome. And yeah, I agree with Andy. They like how they integrated the Pikachu into the story and into everything was great. Ryan Reynolds as Pikachu was hilarious. Pikachu's like coffee addiction got me laughing pretty good. Yeah, overall, it was just fun from start to finish, and it had a great message and a great story to it.
Yeah.
So I remember saying something to the effect of when like trailers for this started coming out, and I forget if this was known enough. I don't remember if anyone had it on their anticipation for 2019, but I don't know if it was like trailer talk, whatever it was. But I remember issuing something along the lines of like, "There's no way in hell," but I will remain open-minded, and given the glowing recommendations of you both, I will put it on my to-watch list.
This is much better than you expect it to be.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
It's Ryan
Yeah.
Reynolds voicing Pikachu. Like
I think I ended up watching it because it was like I had a free rental from Redbox, and I was like, "Oh, Detective Pikachu! What the fuck?"
That's the best
And
way to go into any movie.
What the fuck?
Yeah, what the fuck? It's free. And I was delighted. I don't know.
Yeah, that's one I did not get to, but if I had a list like Mike of stuff that I would have liked to have seen, I just didn't get to see it, this would be on there. So I'm glad that it's getting reviewed well. So I this is another one I'll have to try to find and watch.
I feel like I hope that Sonic the Hedgehog does what this did, where we were
Yes.
looking at it as like,
Oh, yeah.
this is going to be just that, and it's not going to be worth watching. I'm hoping Sonic pulls that shift on me, where right now I have like very little interest in Sonic. But I'm hoping
Now, see,
this
Sonic
time
made my
next
anticipated.
year.
I'm ready.
Yeah,
I'm hoping this time next
it
year.
made my
I can feel this
anticipated as
way.
well. Because
Yeah.
I don't know. I just want to see Jim Carrey as Eggman Robotnik.
Well, yeah, I want to see that too.
Yeah.
Definitely. That's like the drawing point for me. I'm just hoping that's not all that's good about it. You know?
Fair. That's fair. Paula, did you see this one?
No.
Okay.
I've never Pokemoned in my life. I have no idea what I would be seeing or understanding. I know
Maybe
they're
it
yellow.
would introduce you to the universe and then you would want to.
Let me think about that. No.
Fair enough.
Thank you, though.
Yeah, that was a big
Keep
part of
your
my
secrets.
hesitation as well, as I never
don't
had
know.
exposure or interest based on anything I had sort of tangentially witnessed and perceived. But
Fair enough.
like I said, if you guys speak highly enough of it, at least from an enjoyability standpoint, I'll give it a whirl.
If
Sounds
you like
Josh,
Ryan,
I'm sure you've seen worse.
yeah,
That is absolutely true.
yeah. If you like Ryan Reynolds, you'll most likely like the movie.
That's fair. Because honestly, like, you don't have to be into Pokemon to enjoy it. Because Amy enjoyed it, and she has no idea what any of that's about. So
Good to know.
it
all right.
helps, but it's not necessary.
Mike, we'll move on to your number 8.
My number 8 is Knives Out. This is, for anybody who doesn't know, the Rian Johnson movie, Who Done It, came out at Thanksgiving. This was honestly a really interesting film. from start to finish, and I felt like, other than kind of like, I think Josh and I talked about it in a podcast you may never hear, where we said like some of the stuff in it was a little bit politically heavy-handed, but other than that, the performances in the movie were extremely well done. I particularly like Don Johnson's performance. I feel like he was very good. He's always good, man. Like, he does not get enough credit for being as good as he is. And yeah, it was a good whodunit. It's hard to like really talk about much about it because it's a whodunit. You don't want to like reveal things.
Right.
Yeah.
And the reason that you can make certain types of movies special, you don't want to call that out because it ruins the experience of understanding why it becomes special.
Right, yeah, like there's twists, there's turns, there's interesting things that happen. That's like, without spoiling a whodunit, that's like the best you can do. But yeah, performances all around, fantastic. Although I think we did talk about like Daniel Craig kind of sounding similar in this role to other roles he's done when he tries to do like a Southern American accent, like an American South accent. He sounds kind of like the same anytime he does that. So, but it still works. Like, he's still good. The story's still good. I feel like it's a little bit of like a, what's the term I want to use here? Like a widespread coming out party for Ana de Armas as a high quality actor, because she's been in stuff before, but not heavily marketed or widely seen things. And I feel like this was her chance to shine, and I feel like she did a fantastic job.
I think the next one she's in reteams with Daniel Craig, right? Was James Bond?
Yes, she is a Bond girl coming up. She will join the ranks of however many that is that have played Bond girls. But yeah, she definitely showed the acting chops off here. And again, Rian Johnson, regardless of your opinion of The Last Jedi, the guy can write a film. Whether you think he can write Star Wars or not, watch his other stuff. The guy can write a movie.
Yeah.
And
He directs the shit out of all his stuff too.
yes.
Like, really well done.
And
so
people will probably also know that actress from Brian's top film of 2017. She played the character of is it Joy?
Joy
Joy
yeah.
in Blade Runner 2049.
yes.
So yeah, I mean, she definitely has, she has a CV. This was like by no means her like first sort of
like
big
a
role.
lead.
It was probably the one that'll help her break out and start to get some
More leads.
name recognition and whatnot. But yeah, she has a backlog to look at.
Yeah, she's been like the supporting role in everything.
Yeah.
This is her first lead, I would say, in a major picture. And speaking Blade Runner, that's a movie that has slowly started creeping for that decade list. That may make mine from somebody. For me, that movie has turned around for me in a big way since I originally saw it and didn't like it very much.
Oh, see, I don't even remember you not liking it.
Way around on that movie.
Yeah, we'll have to, if we do the decade list, we'll dive back into that, because any excuse to talk about that movie, I'm there. Let's fucking do it. Spoiler alert: Knives Out does make my list higher. So when we get there, I'll let you know when. But this is another one that's sort of kind of like Shazam, where like everybody in this movie is having a fucking ball.
Yes.
Like, it just looks like everybody had fun, getting to do what they want to do. Like the cast list in this is incredible. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And just when you think that you know where the movie's going, I didn't figure out what the fuck was going on. It surprised the crap out of me, and I love when movies surprise me. So yeah, it's I love it. It's good.
I also enjoyed that there's sometimes ensemble casts don't work as well as they need to. And just the idea of having a lot of big A-list actors all sharing the predominant scenes together, and they're all of your main characters all the time, doesn't always... that's not a guarantee. And this particular mesh worked really well, I thought.
I feel like, again, not to spoil anything, but the format for the first third-ish of the film really helped with that.
Yeah.
It gave everybody their own time to shine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Again, not to spoil anything. So, but it does.
Andy, Paula, you guys have not seen this, I'm guessing?
So thank you for not spoiling anything, because this is on my most disappointed movies that I did not see. So I'm still hoping to see it because Ryan Johnson is our king.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I really do appreciate his movie style. He loves movies, and he
Yes.
loves researching
Yeah.
movies, and he loves movie styles, and he loves scenes and dissecting scenes and redoing scenes. So he's just, amazing. So yeah, I really do want to see this.
Sort of even like what Mike was saying, regardless how you feel about The Last Jedi, if you hear Ryan Johnson talk about The Last Jedi and why he made certain decisions and,
Yes.
and things worked out the way they are, he cares and knows exactly what the fuck he's doing.
That movie was
Yeah.
beautiful, cinema, beautiful.
Yes. Yeah.
Don't listen to the dialogue. Turn the dialogue off and just look at it. It's gorgeous.
Andy, did you miss this one?
I did miss this one, but
Okay.
I really wanted to watch it.
Okay. All right, so we'll move on to my number 8. My number 8 is Captain Marvel. It wouldn't be a list without a couple MCU movies because why not? They're everywhere and they're all fucking great. So
Yeah.
get it. Yeah, Captain Marvel's fun. Brie Larson's great. I want to see origin stories are hit or miss. Like we since a lot of the Marvel heroes they keep getting their own origin stories, you have to wonder what's going to set the next origin story apart. This one's a little bit fun, more just because it hits a time period that the MCU hasn't really tackled yet. Like in the '90s era was kind of fun just to revisit. It's sort of it checks all the boxes of most origin stories that the MCU has done and doesn't really, I guess, set itself apart as far as the template. But it's still fun to see where this character comes from. I'm excited beyond measure to see where this character goes because I think she is in a position to take over for some of the other actors and characters that we probably won't be seeing ever, if not for a while. And I definitely want to see where she's at going forward. So I'm more looking forward to a sequel. I want to see where a sequel goes or where she pops up next. But this is a very, very solid starting point for Captain Marvel.
Can I throw an idea out that I think maybe was a missed opportunity on the part of the MCU? Just in general. Having this movie come out in phase 1. And then bringing her back for Endgame. So having that 8-year span between the last times we've seen her, because I feel like having this movie come out so close to Endgame and then having her show back up in Endgame, I feel like it was just this expected what's she gonna do moment kind of thing. How's she gonna change the story? I feel like had we seen this a long time ago and had it way in the back of our memory that she's out there, it makes it a much bigger moment when she returns.
She would have had a sequel in there somewhere, though.
But I feel like if
They
you
wouldn't
frame it that way, she's been gone this whole time. And then we have the sequels coming for afterwards, like they have planned now. Because the storyline takes place back then, I feel like they could have framed it a certain way. Just to have that... I mean, it's ridiculous. It's just, for me, thinking up, how much bigger would, her return be had it been years and years and years instead of months since we last saw them on screen.
As much as I kind of like that idea, I also feel like people would... Just the nature of culture now, people would forget about her.
That's
guarantee
why.
you,
That's
people not to the point where it's be like they'd see her and recognize her. They'd see her and be like, "Who the fuck is that? Why do they look familiar?" They're gonna be questioning why is she there? Who is she? Instead of being
I
"Oh my
don't
god,
know.
it's her."
I don't know about that. I don't know that it was that long for that.
I think for me the issue goes still back several years to the introduction of Spider-Man, because when they decided that they were going to do Homecoming, that altered the previously announced schedule for Phase 3.
Yeah.
And when her film, which was supposed to originally be sometime in 2018, I think it was still after Infinity War, but it was supposed to be maybe in the summer in the Ant-Man and the Wasp spot or something. That Captain Marvel came out literally 7 weeks before Endgame.
Yeah.
And so the expectation of why would you shoehorn in this if only to make us understand that we need to know who this person is because she is going to play a role in Endgame. Other than that, you don't really need her movie beforehand. So to put it
Right.
so close together, I think the expectation was really lost. That, well, why would they make a point to get her in the circle before Endgame if she's not going to play a big role in that story, which she really doesn't. And I will admit I probably wanted this to be in my top 10, but I did not get a chance to rewatch it since I'd seen it in theaters. And I remember really having good fond memories of it, immensely. But I think
I think it is on Disney Plus, right?
it is, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't get a chance to revisit it. Had I, and it had been a little bit more recent, it probably would have cracked the 10.
Okay. Andy, Paula, anything to add?
This made my list, albeit higher.
Okay.
Same.
Okay. All right, we'll wrap back around to Josh for number 7.
Mike is probably gonna be mad at me for this, but it's okay. Actually, you know what? No, I'm gonna make an on the spot revision. So he's still gonna be mad at me, I know, but it won't be. It'll be for like 1 degree less. So, instead, my number 7 is Ready or Not. This was a sort of it was, in my opinion, it was marketed in sort of a whodunit type of like horror murder mystery kind of thing, where it wasn't exactly a whodunit per se, but it was definitely like a dark horror comedy at times. But I thought it was very original. It was a fun approach to telling a scary movie, a horror movie. As we say a lot recently, it just seems like actors are having fun. And I think the actors did, but not to the extent with a horror movie that it pulled me out of it. Like, they're in on the joke with me of why some of the moments were funny. Because there are times where it is just slightly like downright terrifying for the characters. So you didn't really lose that aspect of it either. But I think I appreciated what I felt was an original approach to telling a scary movie.
Yeah.
The climactic moment at the end of this movie, I don't want to call it the last scene, but it's one of the last couple of scenes, and Josh will know what I'm talking about, where like the whole thing is either kind of revealed. I'm not going to say what or anything for spoilers, but it is fucking hilarious.
That in and of itself, yes, that definitely was.
Yeah, that scene, I died watching the one scene. The rest of it, yeah, it was a very interesting and engaging horror film. Samara Weaving really can pull off like the comedy, the horror, like the drama of it all. She pulls all of it off so well, and I feel like she really needs to be getting some bigger roles soon. Bigger things, bigger projects need to be taking note and getting her involved in some more stuff, because she's excellent. If you've seen The Babysitter, she was excellent in that. She's excellent in this. So definitely give this a watch if you're into horror movies, and even if you're kind of just into comedy and you don't mind gore. There is a bit of gore here. So
yeah, and it depends, like, because I think it's I don't know, like, because the gore at times can be over the top, which can make it like
funny.
Fun, right? Because I was about to use the word like palatable or digestible, and I don't want to use those words in this context. But for people who don't generally go for that, it's a little bit at times over the top, so it is easier to look past it. It's not as realistically gruesome per se. Right. So if you can kind of get past that a little bit, the rest of it actually I think is, it's a good roller coaster.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, I obviously did not see this one, so I can't contribute.
Shocker.
Yeah.
I don't think I even have heard of what this actually is, so
I think you would enjoy it.
Yeah, and I know you said typically you're not real big on horror, I think, but I think I think this is enjoyable enough. This could be in your wheelhouse.
Star Wars? Is that what we're talking about? Is that I'm sorry.
But we start
Hi.
talking about horror, and Paula
What
just
time is
tunes us
it?
out. Brian's like, I'm not really into it.
Hi.
Paula just turns the off switch,
Hi.
and she's just like, nope.
Welcome to my podcast.
Yeah.
I have no idea where we are.
We're on your turn.
Oh, number 7, right?
Number 7.
Yeah, Shazam.
There we go.
I know we already talked about it. I just enjoyed it.
Anything you want to add? You get another chance.
It's what I say when I fart now, especially when they're quiet. I was like, "Hey, Shazam!" So you're welcome, podcast people, people.
What do I remember? Did you do that at Celebration? I feel like that was a thing at Celebration, wasn't it?
I told you guys that story. What happened? I think when I was at Josh and Sarah's house.
Maybe. Okay.
Yeah,
That's what it was. Yes.
I was like,
okay.
"Hey, guess what I do?"
I'm like, I
now?
knew I was
Guess
with
what
you
I
at some
do
point
now?
when that started
I
happening.
Shazam. And I just Shazammed.
I mean, I was running around the house going Shazam, but nothing was happening. So when I started like, oh wow, I farted. I'm like Shazam doesn't transform
least you get some
me into
payoff
anything
that way.
amazing. I just run away and leave the stink where it was. So, although my farts smell like roses, so
That's a superpower in itself.
It is a superpower. It's a girl
A
thing.
proof of pixie dust. Now
Yeah.
that you say Shazam, and you
Glitter
get a little magic.
comes out my ass and smells like roses.
Nice.
That's all that I have to add. But thank you for asking me, Brian.
All right, so then we'll move on to
Okay, let's
Andy's
move
number
on.
7.
My number 7 is How to Train Your Dragon: Hidden World.
Okay.
For all
that-
the reasons that we've already talked about.
Yeah, you get a second chance too. Anything to add? Nothing? Good?
It was awesome.
Nice. All right, Mike, you're up. Number 7.
Josh and I can have another conversation. Because my number 7 is Doctor Sleep.
Oh, okay.
Doctor Sleep is, if you're unaware, the sequel to The Shining. And Ewan McGregor, fantastic in this, as always. No surprise there for anybody. And this movie, the horror that it builds up, the tension, again, without getting into spoilers, the reimagining of the fear that you get from The Shining, even though you kind of know what's going on, they kind of give you this new angle on everything. And man, it is good from start to finish. I did not expect this movie to be as good as it was.
Agreed.
And I was still going to watch it either way. It's a sequel to The Shining. It is based on a Stephen King book. I was going to be watching this. And I was really impressed with it. It gets a little bit violent at times. Probably uncomfortable for you to watch, Brian. Paula, wouldn't recommend it. But it, man, it really does a good fucking job. Like, I can't describe it in any other way. It just is so good.
I hate to call it a horror movie. Like, to me, it's definitely more of a thriller.
Yes.
Like, I want to call it a thriller more, but I know there's elements to it that lend itself to the horror side.
Yeah, there's just enough, I think, that it ekes into horror / thriller.
And it's like, I would call it a not really well done horror movie, but an excellent freaking well made thriller.
Yes.
It hit every button. The editors and the director with
the music.
The music, like, yes, all those like elements that you might not think about per se, that construct the pacing and the mood and the tension as it goes from point A to point B to point C. It was really good.
And there's not a lot of thrillers I feel like I want to watch a few times. You know
Agreed.
what I mean? Like, usually you watch them and you're done with them because it's spoiled. This I'm going to watch a good few times in my life, I guarantee, because you give it a while so that it's not, fresh in your memory what happens and everything, and come back to this and it's going to be just as fucking good the second time.
Yeah, I was worried that it was going to rely too heavily on constantly throwing you throwbacks and tie-ins to The Shining, because that's what people might be familiar with, and if you showed up, at least the one thing you'll be happy with is you recognize some shit. But it didn't, like, the times where it did that, it felt completely organic, felt integral to the story,
Right.
it felt necessary, it felt appropriate. It was not, as people say, like, it was not necessarily just fan service. It was not just to do it. It was really effectively used.
Yeah.
So
And-
for someone who hasn't seen The Shining for like 20 years,
Yeah.
yeah.
like, did you revisit it before you went to see this? Because I'm not a big horror fan, but this actually looked really good to me. The previews looked enticing, but I haven't seen The Shining for a really long time.
I actually had, like, before I even knew this was happening again, before I found out about it, I would say like 3-4 months before I found out about this project, I had just watched The Shining. So I watched it recently, but not with the intention of getting prepared for this movie.
Did it help? Did it help, like, revisiting it, or you didn't really? It wouldn't have mattered.
I mean, you remember enough about The Shining as is, probably, to go in. You might need,
Okay.
like, a brief refresher on one or two characters, but
Yeah, if you,
it'll
I
come
agree.
back.
If you
It'll come
remember
back.
enough, you'll probably be okay. But
If you
I had
remember
not-
nothing,
yeah,
So-
you won't be lost.
Can-
You won't be lost.
Can you go see it without having seen The Shining?
I'm gonna say this. I think you probably could. There's been enough little moments of that peppered in pop culture since, I mean, the
True.
last 40 years, that the little bits that they use, you might remember, like, you might recognize enough. But I would say to have a good understanding and appreciate some of the choices and some of the story beats, it's probably a good idea to see The Shining if you've literally never seen it.
yeah.
Paula, it might help you, but it's probably not necessary.
Yeah, I would agree. If you've never seen it, I would recommend seeing it before, because they are following the same story. Ewan McGregor is playing the same little boy that's in The Shining, Danny. You know what I mean? And it's a continuation of his story. And a lot of the state of Ewan McGregor's character is because of things that happen in the first movie. So, like, where he's at mentally and physically and in his life, he's there because of that. So it would definitely help. But again, I wouldn't say it's 100% necessary, but 95 to see The Shining for the first time.
At least once, yeah.
Yeah, I got nothing to contribute. I obviously didn't see this one either, so I'm just listening.
I'm not surprised you haven't seen it.
Brian's like, I'm here on my show too.
That's right.
Star
Another
Wars.
body.
Star Wars.
Yeah.
La.
All right, so we'll move on to my number 7. My number 7 is John Wick 3.
Oh.
I feel like a lot of this, honestly, is just like the knife fight that's in the first third of this movie is
Oh my
so
God.
fucking good.
Hey,
that I just have to give
hey.
it props.
spoilers.
So you know there's a knife fight. I mean, the whole movie is fighting. So
That's true.
Yeah,
We're
but
gonna use
now I
knives instead
know
of guns.
exactly when it happens.
In the first third, somewhere in
I
there.
mean, if it helps, there's probably other knife fights later as well. I mean,
There-
just
there
just
is,
given the
of course.
statistics, there
Yes.
probably is. So the fact that there's one there doesn't mean that there's definitely not other places too.
he kills the guy with a pencil in number 2. So anything you can think of, John Wick is going to kill somebody with it.
yeah.
Right.
Knife
Yeah.
is just like a very
wasn't
obvious
that something
tool of
in like
choice.
they like referenced in the first movie?
Yes,
What he can do with a pencil, and
Yeah,
then they
something like
show
that.
And
it
he
in the
does it,
second
and it's
movie.
like,
Yeah.
yeah.
This makes
Yeah,
it
these-
much higher on my list. I'm not gonna lie about that.
Yeah,
Well-
these movies are such a exercise in how to choreograph and shoot action sequences.
Yes.
Agreed.
Anytime they do one, I'm like, well, that's the bar now. So, and as much as I bitch about shaky cam and the quick cutting editing of action sequences and fight scenes, this movie gets them right. And there's so many standout action sequences in this movie.
Oh my
that
god.
Yeah, there's
And
definitely
and they
no
go on so
shortage.
long that I don't care. Like, they're so fucking good.
I made the note, I think, when we talked about this previously without actually like officially reviewing it, that there's times in this movie when you're watching and you can tell these are one take types of
Oh, yeah.
things because you can see Keanu Reeves getting tired and moving slower at the end of the take than he was at the beginning of the take. Keanu's not a young guy. You know what I mean? He's what, like 50? So
And
you can see him at the end of the takes. He's just like starting to get sluggish, and it makes it more believable, honestly, because that's what a real fight like that would be.
This
just the same thing of like I've heard them talk about how they count the bullets being shot to make sure he has to reload. Like action a lot of action movies don't give a shit who has to reload or not. They just keep going.
Right.
If you're counting, you run out of ammo. You have to reload.
This came out I think the weekend before or weekend as Sarah and I went on vacation last year, and she enjoyed it enough that she actually said, like, while we were on vacation for a week in Williamsburg, there was a Alamo Drafthouse type of theater very nearby, and she said, can we go see that again? So she liked it a lot. I will say this. So as I was making my list, I looked back at 2017 to see if John Wick 2 had made either of my anticipation or my top 10, and I don't think it made either. So I was really torn on whether this made the cut or not, and it just didn't. And I think only because Andy, forgive me if this part is a spoiler, but I think there's been enough publicity around this that this wouldn't be a surprise to you. They are not done making these movies.
Oh, yeah.
No,
I already knew that there was going to be a number 4.
Okay.
Yeah, so as long as these are making money, they're going to keep pumping them out.
So going out of number 2, I actually was really digging the idea of the story concluding. I thought it was in a good place, that the next step, which is what we got, is exactly what I thought we were going to get. But this, in my opinion, was the most logical place to stop. So story-wise, unless they are just really going to go, like, if the next one is going to be like the Fast and Furious on the moon version of John Wick,
I'm there for it. Let's go.
As long as
John
they're
Wick
doing
and space motherfuckers.
Well, like,
one-take
not
space fights.
right? Like, not even that necessarily, but like that analogous type of thing, like where they just overshot and like they got too big and it just got too much.
Yeah.
We will see. You know, I'm not.
Of course.
I it's not like I'm not going to go see it, but.
Josh, just for reference, John Wick 3 made your most anticipated for this year, or for last year. Do you remember where it hit on your list? Because I can tell you right now, I'm looking at it. Do you have a guess? Don't cheat.
Okay, don't look.
He's definitely cheating. He's trying
No, I didn't. I stopped. I'm going to say 7.
It was number 3.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Believe it or not, I don't think it made mine. Did it make mine? You have it there.
It did not make yours.
It did not, and you know why? Because if you look back, you'll see John Wick 2 also did not make my list, because this movie is so far superior to the second one, in my opinion. This is my favorite John Wick film so far. I think this is better than the first one and the second one. I enjoyed this start to finish. I feel like the first one is amazing and did amazing things, but I feel like it drags a little bit at times. Yeah, I mean, there's just a few sections in there where it does drag. I still think it's amazing. The second one I was not as happy with. And then come around to this one, and it just brought me all the fucking way back into John Wick, and I'm like, holy shit, this was amazing. Again, no spoilers, but again, the scene you're talking about, and the scene that I would call like the last big fight, I'm not going to get into any other details about it, but with the main nemesis, we'll say. Because there's obviously always a main nemesis. That's not a spoiler.
Yeah.
So that, like, last fight for John on his own, and then, of course, the other final fight. Holy crap. Those two scenes to end that movie were fucking amazing.
Yeah.
That was one of the, like, last thirds of a movie this year where the whole time I was just, like, sitting there in the theater probably with my jaw down like, this is fucking awesome. And in a good way the whole time, not just in like explosions and, you know, crazy special effects kind of way. It was just like, holy shit.
Yeah.
That was, again, they are making the best action films you may have, or action sequences you may have ever seen in these movies. So if you're not on board with John Wick, you need to get on board with John Wick.
Yeah, especially if you're an action junkie.
I'm not on board with John Wick.
You need to get on board with John
I
Wick.
feel like I need to be on board with John Wick now.
Are you an action junkie? Do you like
I
action
like
movies?
action. I do.
Then
Yes.
John
I've never
Wick
wicked.
is... Then you
I've
need
never
to.
wicked. I feel like that's our next movie, potential movie day.
I'm
is
here for it.
Never
all
seen
three-
it, John Wick?
I've never seen any wicks. I've never wicked.
I feel like by the end of it, you will feel fatigued.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
All back
yeah.
to back, you almost need a breather between
Yeah.
because they just
Yeah.
are nonstop.
Have a respirator.
Because especially I feel like
You've never worked retail at Christmas. I can handle it.
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
Touche.
Andy,
Not
you
in a
haven't seen
Lego
this one,
store.
right?
I did not see this one, no.
Okay. You've seen the other John Wicks or no?
I saw 1 and 2.
Okay.
I really wanted to see this one. But what happened? Oh, my brother hadn't seen the second one, so I didn't want to watch the third one without him watching the second one. And
fair
that just never happened, so I never saw the third one.
Yeah, you actually, this is a franchise I will say, if you haven't seen them, definitely start from the beginning. You can't just jump into number 3 and expect to know what's going on.
Oh, no, yeah. They pick right up off of one another. It's not...
Yeah.
Good to know.
You'll have no idea what's going on. Even though I'm saying 3's the best, you got to watch 1 and 2, otherwise
Yes.
it'll
Yeah.
make no sense at all.
'Cause, yeah, you do need the background. You need the character development. You absolutely need to understand why people are doing what they're doing.
Yes.
And I will say, other than my number 1, this is definitely my most rewatched movie this year.
Yeah, okay. Nice.
Because this is just endlessly rewatchable to watch those scenes over and over again. That's like, you don't need the context. You don't need to be paying attention to the story. It's like, oh, that scene's coming up.
Yeah.
And it can be your background thing where you're just going to pay attention when the cool action scene starts
Yeah.
while you're doing something else. So, yeah.
All right, so we'll swing back around to Josh. Number 6.
Okay, so this was the second one that I just swapped before my last one, and this one is the one that Bradley might get a little angry
I
at me
already
for.
know what you're going to say.
Zombieland.
Oh, man.
Again, I sound like a broken record tonight, but no indication of how I feel about this thing just because other things are ahead of it. I feel like I would definitely benefit, just like Captain Marvel, I would benefit again from rewatching. I know this was just in October. But I think I did have a good time with it, but I had a decade for the first one to sink in and become what it is to me. I've only had 3
Fair
months for
enough.
this one. So, I mean, it's still my number 6.
Yeah.
And I think we've talked at length probably previously, like just what a success that I think we both feel this one was, given the challenge of coming back to something after a decade, bringing these characters back who have not only grown literally in real life, the people as actors and they've aged, but making a story that makes sense for that passage of time and for it to not seem convoluted, make it seem stale. All the things. Loved it.
Please do it again in 10 years.
I would kind of like I want them to do it sooner, if for nothing else, because of Woody Harrelson's, not that he's already really old, but he's much older than all the others. So you keep doing 10 years on him, he's going to be kind of aged out quickly, especially after like one more.
There's somebody else in there I would rather see come back. Well, not rather, but I think it's more of a concern coming back. That we're not going to get into spoilers, but getting another Sid cameo to happen would be
So that's exactly why. Like
more of a
if
threat.
if they were on like even a 5-year cadence, I think that's that's an achievable mark.
Maybe by then we'll get the title card of from the director that got you Venom and Venom 2.
Oh, shut up!
Comes
You
Zombieland
shut
3.
your dirty mouth.
Let me make the statement. This again appears much higher on my list.
I figured.
And I've watched it again a few times. It is available on digital release. I don't know if it's available for actual purchase yet, but since the instant it released on digital, I bought it and I've watched it a few times on digital to like re-soak it in and everything. And man, it did not disappoint. They did a good fucking job coming through, making what you wanted to see again without going to the same well they went to the first time
Yes.
too much.
Yes.
And they did a lot of unique storylines from the original, and man, this is going to be another one over the next 10 years I'm going to watch I don't know how many times. Just like the original Zombieland, I've seen that I can't tell you how many times.
And I think they'd made the smart decision like any good filmmaker would, and they put Rosario Dawson in their movie.
Yes, that is always a good decision.
Yeah.
And I think that was something like you were talking about, like, oh, the maker of Venom and Venom 2. But it was just like the original trailer for this movie pointed out very intentionally, Academy Award nominee, Academy Award nominee, Academy Award nominee, and Academy Award winner, all headlining this cast and coming back to this movie after 10 years. There's a reason this movie's good. The cast is amazing. They're perfectly cast in the roles they're in.
Yeah.
And, yeah, man, I can't wait until we get some more. I hope we get more. Even if we don't, it wraps up on a perfect note. Just like the first one did. The first one wrapped up on a perfect note, and we didn't need another one, but we got another one. So this one wraps up on a perfect note, too, and I am glad to see another one if they want to do it.
And if this creator, if the director, at least the main drivers, want to move forward, well, because the writers came back, too. They ended up, later writing Deadpool and whatnot. The director passed up taking the sequel to Venom in order to make this. So that tells me that he had this surprise box office hit with Venom, regardless of what, I guess I will at least just have to say that I think of it. And
you're not alone, Josh. You're not alone.
I know, but I also don't want to be one of those shitheads like, the internet hates it, right? And that's my opinion, but it's the fact that he saw that and was probably very clearly offered the chance to continue in that franchise and said, you know what, I'm going to go back and make this sequel to this movie I made a decade ago instead. Tells me he's not afraid to make that professional choice. So if the opportunity for a third comes along at some point, I would hope that he and the awesome writers come back and revisit it too.
And I love that at the very end, it's not really a spoiler, but they make the same note that they made at the end of the first movie with Columbus going out with, and until next time, at the very end of this movie.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I really hope that that's a sign that they're going to keep doing this, because that cast works so fucking well together. I can't wait to see more.
Yeah, this was fun. I don't hold it as much as high and revere to think as much as you guys do, but it was good. I enjoyed it.
Oh, that's right. I forgot you could actually chime in on this one.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
that's true.
We did the first one. We did.
Yeah.
I went and saw this in the theater with you guys.
You did.
That is right. And if it was passable, I'm assuming it didn't make your list anywhere.
It did not.
But,
No.
but
so it was fine
for a horror comedy. If it could get the Labick stamp of quasi okay approval.
Right. Yeah. It didn't give me nightmares and I didn't pass out, so we're all good.
Fair enough. That's a big stamp from Brian. It was enjoyable in spite of the fact that it could have given him nightmares and made him pass out. That was a potential possibility, and he still enjoyed it.
That's right. Paula, Andy, anything to add for Zombieland 2?
I feel like it's always like Paula, Andy. Anything? Hello?
I'm just checking.
Knock,
I want to just leave you guys
Anybody
hanging.
I love
horror comedy is not my bag.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I love the original movie. Like, it's awesome. I'd watch it anytime it's on. Like, I'll put it in. It's just a fantastic movie. And I had very good intentions in going to see this in the theater. And then I just didn't.
Just did.
Because reasons.
I just didn't.
Life.
Yeah. I just didn't make it.
Life is a thing.
And I actually had several times where I had not solid plans, but like, yeah, let's go see that this weekend, and then everything just kind of fell through. So it happened several times that I wanted to, and I just didn't make it.
You're just not finding the right people to go to movies with, Andy.
Yeah,
I think you've got plenty of potential here.
Where?
Everybody here. Well, Paula, I think, needs some help too. But her New Year's resolution is to see more movies. So I think we're all good.
It is. One a month at least. That's 12.
It's a good start.
Yeah.
So that'll be your list for next year. You'll be all good.
Exactly.
All right, so Paula, number 6.
So I had to really decide if this was going to be my 6 or my 7, but I moved it up to 6. Shazam was my number 7, because I'm slightly invested in this character now. So that's why I got bumped up. But it is Spider-Man: Far From Home.
Ooh.
Yeah, nice.
Is my number 6. I really enjoyed Homecoming more than I liked Far From Home. But the story was interesting. I was optimistic about what was going to happen. Am I allowed to like talk about what happened? I feel
No.
like if you
Spoiler
haven't
stuff at the end of
seen
the movie?
it by,
No.
I feel like if you haven't seen it by now,
Nope, we're not gonna do it.
okay. So it was an interesting movie. I liked it, and I'm invested. I really enjoyed Homecoming, so it kept my attention. I had a fun time watching it. So yeah, Spider-Man: Far From Home is my number 6. I just love MJ. She's amazing. She's so sassy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that whole cast is great. I love that cast.
And I'm not
Yeah.
a big Gyllenhaal fan. Not my favorite.
I thought he did an okay job in this role,
He did
though.
an okay job. He was horrible. So
Yeah, I liked him a lot in this movie. For sure.
I actually would have liked his character to be even more of what he was. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, I feel like his character was only at like a 7.
He was a sinister douchebag.
Yeah, but it was
Just
like
turn it up a few notches.
Yeah, exactly. So can I ask what like quality do you think was a part of Homecoming that wasn't a part of Far From Home that makes you like Homecoming more?
Well, I do like the interaction with the kids more. Like that was a fun time for me for Far From Home. Like being on the bus trip with with Ned. I liked the storyline with Michael Keaton better.
Okay. It's
better
hard to compete with a
actor.
Michael Keaton.
Right, a better
Yeah.
actor, better story. I mean, he was pretty dark, and it was our first real full Tom Holland movie, and I love Tom Holland. I don't know too much about Spider-Man before Tom Holland.
That was
So-
something we talked about too. Was watching the
Yeah.
other Spider-Man.
I've never Spider-Maned before Tom Holland, so
It's got to be everybody. Everybody has a first. That's fine.
exactly.
Yeah.
But I love him. I think he's like naive enough that I believe it. And adorable.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pinch his cheek.
He is all of that.
Cute little Spidey. But yeah, it's my number 6.
I think this will probably appear on a lot of our lists. At some point.
It's higher for me. Yes.
It's also higher for me. The point I would make different from my opinion of it is that I actually liked Far From Home more than I liked Homecoming. I would still say I agree with Michael Keaton above Gyllenhaal, Vulture above Mysterio, but because of Mysterio, I'm not going to get into what it is. We get one of the coolest scenes in any movie this year. Again, no spoilers, but there is one sequence in this movie that is absolutely awesome to watch. Specifically,
Let's compare notes if we're thinking of the same thing, because if we're on the same page, I fucking love that thing too. Yes.
Yeah, I
1,000 times yes.
yeah, it is awesome. Again, we're not gonna get into what it is, but the comedy's there. These kids are great. Jacob Batalon, I don't know how to say his last name.
Yeah.
That plays Ned. He's awesome. He's perfect in the role he's in for being like that quirky, odd friend who does things that don't make sense and then is a complete fucking dork about it the whole time, and it's great.
But is 100% comfortable in his skin.
Yes. He's
That's what I
100%.
love.
Ned is 100% comfortable with being that pure dork, and he doesn't care. Like, it's great.
I really liked the teachers. I thought were pretty funny in it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, JB Smoove and the guy, the
Martin Starr.
Martin Starr.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love me Martin Starr.
They were great. Again, I don't want to spoil any of the jokes, so I don't want to tell you why.
Yeah,
But they
yeah.
were
Yeah.
great. And yeah, this had a very fun Spider-Man feel to it. And I feel like in Homecoming, I felt like that was something that was maybe missing a little bit for me. Was like Tom Holland felt like Spider-Man, Michael Keaton felt like Vulture. It worked in those senses, but the story itself, it kind of Spider-Man'd a little bit for me. This one really steered right into being Spider-Man's story, and I really enjoyed that.
There's something about this movie for me that I think is infinitely rewatchable.
Yes.
And
it's very easy.
If the fact that it came after Endgame, it was exactly what I think we all needed after Endgame.
Catharsis.
Yes.
It did feel right, yeah.
And like I think I saw this, I don't know, 4 times in the theater. I just kept going back. I was like, just give me an excuse to go. So I really like this movie. I'm with Mike. I think I like it more than Homecoming. I think I'd put it higher up on my list. It might even be in like my top 5 for sure, maybe top 3 MCU movies. I'd really have to sit down and make my list, but it is up there for me. I really like this one a lot.
For live action Spider-Man, it is definitely
Yes.
my favorite. I don't
Yes.
think it beats out Spider-Verse,
No, I would agree.
but
Yeah.
for live action Spider-Man, it's my favorite.
I think one
I don't
one of the aspects,
have too much else to add other than it's great.
One of the aspects of Black Widow that I'm looking forward to is hopefully getting back to characters, and especially villains, perhaps, or just I guess powered characters all around, who as actors or actresses have to do more when they're making the movie than seem like they're moving their hands, and then energy happens. I guess, is that what I think it's getting to the point with certain things, and this is a DC problem as well, where just we're relying a little too much on, of course, that beam of energy and light shot from me, and I guess it hit you, so that hurts you. There's just like so many different flavors of it, but it's effectively seeming like it does the same thing without doing anything different from one person to another and whatnot. So getting a bit more back to grounded would be welcomed, in my opinion. Yeah, I don't know. That was just one thing I observed with Mysterio as a character. No matter what, like his arc, that is part of his get up.
Yeah.
You're never going to get away from that. So just getting away from what that is supposed to represent, and just like, yo, look at me. Well, it's this shape this time, or it's that color. Like, okay.
Fair.
I need something a little bit different now.
Anything else to add for Spider-Man?
This was actually my number 6 as well.
Woo!
Yeah, all right. That'll work.
Bingo.
Slide that right across.
Your spider friends.
All right, so then we'll go on to Mike's number 6. We already talked about Jay and Silent Bob,
Yes.
which brings us to my number 6. My number 6 was Yesterday,
Oh.
which was the Danny Boyle directed guy that, like, one of the few guys on Earth that remembers the Beatles and everybody else forgets them. And
Oh, I wanted to see that. Pretty solid.
yeah, I
Wow.
actually was really kind of surprised by that, and I didn't really know what to expect. I like the Beatles, but I'm not like hardcore Beatles fan. But I dug it a lot. It was a lot funnier, I think, than I expected.
I don't think I knew that was a Danny Boyle movie.
Check me on that, but I'm.
Oh, no, I'm not
almost
saying you're
positive
wrong. That surprised me because it does not seem like his typical flavor.
Right, and that's, I think, what stuck out to me too when I remember looking at that or finally seeing that. But I think the only thing I really knew was Lily James from Baby Drivers in it, and it I think the trailers looked like, the hook of it is like, the Beatles are so recognizable, and then how does everyone kind of forget them? And I was like, well, that's a good hook. I'm curious enough to just check it out. So yeah, I didn't have a lot of expectations going in, but I thought it was really, really solid.
Sarah will be jealous. She's a Beatles maniac, and we haven't got to see that yet.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
I was intrigued by the trailer, but I did not see it yet.
We
Ditto.
almost watched it on Sunday. We almost did.
What does that mean?
We watched The Witcher instead.
Okay.
Like, we started watching The Witcher. Like, oh, it's Yesterday or The Witcher. What are we gonna do? Okay, Witcher.
And we were just talking about that, so curiosity got the better of you, and
It
you decided
did.
to go with The Witcher.
Yeah, but that was, it's like, oh, yesterday's up there. Should we? No. But maybe now we will.
Yeah, I think I definitely think it's good.
Aaron
I would
loves
highly
the
recommend
Beatles.
checking it out. Yeah.
You could watch Yesterday tomorrow.
Yesterday?
Oh.
Wow. That was crazy, man.
Yeah, I guess if no one else saw it, we can jump back to Josh.
Oh gosh. Okay, we're at number 5, right?
Number 5.
Mhm.
Number 5.
Okay. I gotta stop picking movies that I'm pretty sure only me and Mike have seen.
Yay.
And this is, I'm assuming this might be actually, even though I'm at 5, this might be higher on his. My 5 is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I know why you're assuming it is. It's not.
Oh, all right. If no one else has seen it, we don't have much to say about it. I guess I would just say it's a longer movie. I mean, it's a Tarantino,
Long.
so it's long.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't remember offhand. I feel like it's shorter than The Hateful Eight was, but or like right on par. But
It's in the same kind of zone.
yeah, it's like close to
2.5
3 hours. There is a scene that Leonardo DiCaprio does, a sequence. So his character, for the context of why this makes sense, DiCaprio's character in the movie is an actor who used to have a bit of fame on like a 1950s-ish like cowboy show. And he's not really, at the top of his game anymore, like an A-lister and whatnot. So he takes this part in a production. And so in the movie of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, there is a scene of the movie that his character is in that they're filming. It's a very long sequence. And that's what makes Tarantino movies so long, is that they just roll. And he will take 10 minutes to just give you a whole scene if that's what he wants. And this whole sequence is, in my opinion, is my favorite part of the whole movie, for what was otherwise a pretty enjoyable movie to begin with. But it was, it might be my favorite thing I've ever seen DiCaprio do. Like not just the movie, but like that one particular thing.
Yeah. And again, this doesn't make my list this year. It's made my most anticipated list very high.
Yeah.
And it does not make my favorite movies, and I can explain why. I feel like there
Didn't
is
like
no.
Because I
did
freaking
like
hated it.
but
Hated it.
I can explain my reasoning at least. And that is very simply, this movie has a few scenes in it that I feel like are among the absolute best scenes you're going to see in any movie this year.
Okay.
But as a whole,
Mm-hmm.
I felt like the movie had major issues
Okay.
that bugged me for a Tarantino film. I felt like he was a little bit sloppier than he usually is. And I think that's what bugged me. Usually Tarantino has these stories in his mind and he wraps them up in these nice, neat little balls. And they have these fantastic threads that all pay off and everything makes sense and everything comes together. And I felt, again, Josh, you and I can talk more about this separately without spoilers.
Yeah.
But I felt like there was a lot of that missing.
Okay.
with
I
this
can see.
movie.
I can see that.
The best thing I could say is that, without spoiling anything, it's really hard. But to speak of, but it works on a lot of levels. There's Tarantino here. The scenes are very Tarantino. They're peak Tarantino. They're fucking amazing.
Yeah.
I just didn't feel like that they made the most coherent film.
That's fair.
Whereas a movie like Django has those same scenes and that same fantastic ability, and it makes a to B storyline that I feel like is effective start to finish and makes sense.
Gotcha.
And I didn't have that here.
I'm with you.
So that's the best I can do without spoilers.
Yeah, it's all you guys, because I didn't see this one either.
I didn't see it as well.
I did not see it, but I'll be interested to see what happens during award season, because I know we just started with the Golden Globes, and yeah, I'll be interested to find out what happens Oscar time.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Brad Pitt get some acknowledgement for this.
They were
Well,
both nominated
Yeah.
I would say I could
for
look
Golden
that up right now
Globes.
because they announced the Oscar nominations.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets acknowledgement. I'm sure Leo, of course. Leo does Leo, man. Does Leo ever not end up on that nomination list when he does a movie?
Yeah, right. But
Like, I
but
feel
he's only won once.
Yeah, but he's still always there. Like
Yeah.
he's good enough to always be there, but he's only been
Uh,
good enough to win one time.
It is nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Lead Actor for DiCaprio, Supporting Actor by Pitt, Screenplay, Original Screenplay, Cinematography, Costume Design, Production Design, Sound Mixing, and Sound Editing.
Jesus.
And I would agree with a lot of those. Maybe not screenplay, but
For the reasons
A
you
lot
said.
of-
Yeah, I could see that.
yeah, for the reasons I said, maybe not screenplay, but the rest of it, it's a fantastic movie.
Yeah.
It really is. It just certain things that didn't add up bugged me.
Well, it is based off of a true relationship, correct?
It is based off of the Manson murders. I mean, that they plugged that the whole time when they were
Yeah.
doing it. So it's taking place around the time of the Manson murders, and they kind of made that known.
If it was based off a real relationship of
It's
this
not.
like actor and I mean that's just something I'm not aware of. If
I looked it
was.
up afterwards.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
I thought
Neither
it
of them
was.
ever actually existed.
Okay.
If they did, it was very deep.
Oh, that's right. I feel
faking.
like I don't remember who it was off the top of my head, but that he kind of modeled DiCaprio's character off of
Yeah.
like one or two specific type of actors that sort of had that career arc.
Dalton's
Yes.
relationship with Cliff Booth is based on Burt Reynolds and his longtime stunt double Hal Needham.
There you go.
There you go.
Dalton was
And
inspired
Burt
by
Reynolds
actors. I'm
Did
sorry.
not live next door to Sharon Tate.
Right, and even Burt Reynolds, like, so it feels like they took that relationship, but then took it back in history a little further.
Right. Well, yeah, Burt Reynolds was still
Because-
an A-lister at that time.
Right, and then even like the idea that like he also kind of borrowed from the idea of like an actor who was like specifically, at one point in his career the star of one of the like spaghetti western shows.
Yeah.
And it kind of like melded some things together. So that's why I can see why it's viewed the way it is. But yeah, I enjoyed the hell out of it.
I feel like it's probably all we're going to get as far as everybody else chiming in.
Yep.
So let's go on to Paula's number 5.
Woo!
Number 5.
That would be Frozen 2.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Good pick.
Back to Arendelle. No. Wow, this movie was absolutely gorgeous. I did not love it as much as the original Frozen, but they did not fall short of a great storyline. We were all curious to how they were going to bring back Frozen 2. Like, how is that going to happen? But the ending was surprising, which I really enjoyed. The very end, I was like,
Agreed.
what just happened? That's amazing. Olaf's new song is so great. I love Kristoff's power ballad in the middle of it.
I'm glad they leaned into that.
Oh man,
Yeah.
that was great with the reindeer as like queen, and oh man, it was so good. But the storytelling was just fun. The movie was beautiful, just as beautiful as the original. And no, you didn't quite get Let It Go, and they made fun of it a little bit, which was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But Into the Unknown was beautiful. They're making fun of it a little bit, like Elsa singing at 2 a.m. at the castle and all the villagers are trying to sleep.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool. I've seen some funny things about that. But yeah, I thought it was a great story. I'm singing the songs. And I'll definitely own the movie when it comes out.
Yeah, I agree. It wasn't. I still think the first one's better, but this was very, very solid. I did like it a lot. It didn't make my top 10, but probably just missed the cut. So I'd call it an honorable mention.
I enjoyed it from beginning to end.
This is on my need to see it list. Didn't see it
It's
yet.
enjoyable.
Need to.
Yeah. Paula, I think in the last couple of months, as I like swallowed a bunch of podcasts and like
Such a weird phrase.
writings on the Star Wars franchise before Rise of Skywalker came out, and then following it. In the last few months, I've actually come to realize that I think I'm enjoying projects that subvert my expectations, and that's very different from just what I want to have happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very different from doing something strange just for the sake of doing something strange. If it doesn't make sense, that's a different case. That's one of the things I really dug about Frozen 2, as you said, the ending. Never would have guessed that Disney would have gone that direction with one of their stories, let alone this one that made, the first movie made over $1 billion frickin' dollars.
Yeah.
And you couldn't get away from that song. You still can't get away from that song.
Can't get away from that song.
So for them to be ballsy enough to kind of take the direction they did and have your characters end up at a slightly different path in the road than you easily could have choreographed that they could have, I greatly appreciated that.
Awesome.
Andy, anything for Frozen 2?
I did not see it.
Okay.
Well, you should.
It sounds like
Definitely you
it.
should. And you should
I
wear
feel like every time we come out of these, Andy has a laundry list of stuff to watch.
and wear your Elsa dress.
And let me tell you, I usually don't end up watching them.
At least you're honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I honestly, Frozen 1 really sort of I don't know. There was like a Frozen mania thing going on, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, you got to see Frozen! You got to see Frozen!" So when I finally did see it, I guess I was a little bit let down
Yeah,
by it.
I could see that.
So
I agree with that.
when Frozen 2 happened, I was like,
And I originally saw Frozen when Disney Plus came out. I had not watched it up until that point. And,
Wow.
some point after that, I watched it, and I was like, this was good, but it was not as good as I feel like people made it out to be, personally.
yeah. Like, I think I'd prefer Moana, honestly.
I could see
Okay.
why Moana's solid.
Yeah, I like both. I mean, I like both. I just, is what it is.
Moana is great too.
All right, so Andy, you're up for number 5.
Number 5 is Captain Marvel for me.
Yeah, nice. Okay. Anything to add?
I just felt like the '90s MCU movie really hit all the notes that I wanted it to hit, and it just felt good.
That'll work. We'll go on to Mike's number 5.
My number 5 was Far From Home.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah, I'm surprised, Mike. I feel like I'm stealing your thunder this time.
And you're after me. That's weird.
I know. That is weird. All right, so my number 5 is Ford versus Ferrari. I
Okay.
like that movie a lot. I wouldn't call myself a car guy, but I feel like over the last couple years, maybe it's just more as an adult, but I find myself gravitating more towards like true story movies, like based on a true story or biographical type stuff. So since this was based on true events and the war for Le Mans and stuff like that, I was like, you know what, that's curious. I'd like to check that out, and was pleasantly surprised. I thought this was very, very well done. It's well written. I think the pacing even is really good. I don't feel like there's a dull moment. It just moves. And for not really knowing exactly how that story played out, like the historical events and stuff like that, I really enjoyed it. Thought it was good.
Wanted to see it. Didn't yet.
Did anybody else get to it, or am I the only one?
Heard good things about it.
Yeah,
Okay.
ditto.
This also makes that need to see it list. If you're keeping track, that's number 3.
Yeah, Sarah and I did. We took her parents to see it because her dad used to like do streetcar racing when he was like a teenager and in his 20s.
Oh, all right.
So we knew and he's like, he lived through that era too, so he was very familiar with a lot of the people and like the company names and some of the stories behind the fabric of the film and whatnot. I will also admit I found myself enjoying something that contextually, like the basis of it, I really mostly couldn't care less. but it was very well put together just to at least see, can these people do what they're setting out to do?
Yeah.
And for me, that was the compelling part. And it was just very well acted. It was really cool to see Damon and Bale in a movie together.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the big draw for me, really.
And this is
And it's not
Mangold.
wasted.
Good.
This is what James Mangold did after Logan. So
That's right,
considering
that's
his last two movies, I'm like, I might have to start keep an eye on this director because I fucking love Logan, and this was really, really good too.
Yeah, those two being the last two, that's a good resume to go off of.
Yeah.
So.
All right, swing back around, Josh. Number 4.
This is just about where I figured this would end up, and I could probably watch this a lot. My number 4 is A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood.
Oh.
This is probably really high on my. I wish I would have gotten around to see it, and I didn't get a chance to.
Yeah,
agree.
It's definitely worth it. It was high on my. It was about, I think, at this spot on my anticipation list, and for all the reasons that I wanted it to be, it was. I don't think it's not a spoiler. It's just more of a preconception warning. The movie definitely does not play as a biopic whatsoever of Fred Rogers.
Okay.
And almost to the point where, and it's not a bad thing. This is why I liked it so much. It's almost like he's not even the central character. But
I got that feeling from the trailer.
But everything that you want to see highlighted about him is there, and everything that you want to like about him is applied in the people you actually are watching. And it's so wonderful. And I strap in, let's get real for a moment. This is the part that I think is sort of presented to some degree in the trailers. The movie is framed around this journalist who is told to do an interview story for the magazine he works for with Fred Rogers in like the late 90s. And this really happened. So this is like based on the true story of this journalist's experience doing this. And I think this is true. I actually haven't gone back to look up the story and read it. It was only supposed to end up being like a small 3-paragraph story, and it ended up being like a multi-page cover story of the magazine. He just kept diving in and going deeper and deeper and just made this whole big thing. The journalist that they've presented had severe family issues and severe issues with his father. And that definitely hits home with myself. And there are a few times in my life, after my father was no longer in my life, that I've experienced something that makes me shake, and like I feel like 5 things at one time. Like I'm shaking with anger and rage, but I'm also happy for like potential positive outcomes. It's like this really weird mix of emotions. But there's an arc of the journalist's story throughout this movie that, and like we're watching this in a theater, and I was there with my mother. So it's like Sarah, my mom, and me. And if you've ever had those moments, I don't know if everyone has them, it's possible they do, where you have been driven to cry so hard that you, especially like if you're in a public place like that, that you literally have to keep yourself from, like you have to keep yourself still, because if you don't, you otherwise would just like explode with energy. It was that for me, and I know that's not what everybody's going to experience because of that, but because it was that for me, it felt great though. It was almost like this weird, horrible feeling, but it was so cathartic.
Yeah.
and what the way that they can present something like that while also showing you what a wonderful part that someone like Fred Rogers can play to someone who's experiencing that. What was wonderful. I'm happy that for about 2 minutes, I'm happy that I felt so shitty. And they made a very, very good movie in honor of that person, I think. And I think it was a good idea not to just make another straight biopic, because I think the documentary, Won't You Be My Neighbor, already did that.
Yeah.
And it was only a year before, so they didn't need to do that again.
Right.
So the road that they took was a smart choice, and I think they did a wonderful job doing that man justice. And I 100%, even if you're obviously not going to have the same experience that I did for the reasons I've stated, there's just hope and love and joy in this. And I know it's easy to say these things the last couple of years, last decade, whatever time frame you want to choose, but it just feels like, goddamn, we just need reminded, and we need some things that are just good. And I'm happy this exists.
The world needs another Fred Rogers.
Yes, desperately.
I think even if there's something that we can take away from Won't You Be My Neighbor, and then this movie in and of itself, which I haven't even seen it yet, but from Fred Rogers, is that, Fred Rogers is the person we should all aspire to be. And in a lot of ways, I appreciate the recent surge in appreciation for him and the person he was being presented to us on a national scale again. So I would say, yeah, I definitely am going to watch this, and it's one of those things where it's like, I feel like I would rather watch this type of movie at home than in a theater. Just because I can pay more attention to it, strangely enough, when I'm at home, and really appreciate it more in that sense. And I don't think it's available at home yet. So when it gets there,
it's probably coming soon, because this was I want to say like
November,
Right before the holidays.
mid-November release.
Yeah.
So it's probably sometime like end of February, beginning of March.
Yeah. And that's when I plan to watch this. But folks, just be like Fred Rogers. I mean, if you can model your life like Fred Rogers, you're doing a damn good job. He's a role model for everybody, right?
Yeah,
so
for sure. That's one I think, even I haven't seen it either, but just the message I feel like of positivity that comes out of watching a movie like that, I feel like was the consensus for people that have seen the movie.
I haven't got to see it, but now it's my number one.
There you go, Josh. You sold it.
You did.
Questioning, like, just general, how much of it was filmed here? Did they film the whole thing in Pittsburgh? Was it filmed in different places? Do you know anything about that?
I mean, Hanks was here for sure.
I know that. I know, like, there was stuff about that, but I don't know if they did, like...
There is some stuff that they obviously did, like, on-location shooting in New York, because that's where the journalist lived.
Okay.
But aside from that, I think that anything that looks like it was shot on location, if the setting is supposed to be Pittsburgh, was probably Pittsburgh. There's very little that looks like they intentionally just went like, oh, let's fly everyone to LA and do sound stages and whatnot.
Right.
Like there's definitely like, some exterior shots of WQED. They shot some stuff in his actual studio there.
Wow.
And those kinds of things. And there's some stuff in like I wouldn't say like indistinct Pittsburgh neighborhoods, but like neighborhood shots in places where you're like, oh, that's probably Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's probably, like, I always imagine like that movie having like definitely filmed things in Squirrel Hill.
And to some degree, I think a little bit. I can't nail down in my head. The journalist also has, if I remember, the journalist has ties to Pittsburgh too. Like his
okay.
I think his father might have been from the area, so that like drew him also back there at times. Yeah, there's one or two scenes that I'm like, I think that might be a Squirrel Hill neighborhood that they used for some exteriors.
It's a popular neighborhood for that.
Yeah, and I could be wrong. The one scene might, because Fred Rogers' wife is still alive, and I don't know if she still lives where their primary house was or not. But I feel like at least for some exterior shots of some stuff, they did use his, the house that he predominantly lived in as an adult. I could be wrong about that, but it definitely...
I always am interested when they do like these biography type movies where they're following a real person, how much authenticity they go for. And so stuff like that's really cool to know.
Andy, anything to add?
I didn't see it, but I heard Tom Hanks was excellent in it, and it's a movie that I would like to see.
Okay. Yeah, I have to get around to this one too. I'll have to keep an eye when the release is.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to Paula's number 4.
That would be Captain Marvel.
Oh, nice. All right, second chance. Anything to add?
It was awesome.
That's a good ad. I agree.
Flurkin.
Mother flirkin.
Andy, number 4.
My number 4 was Godzilla, King of the Monsters.
Yeah, okay.
Because I am a sucker for Godzilla movies, and I felt like this hit all the notes that I wanted Godzilla movie to hit. It was epic, and I don't know. His roar just gives me chills when it happens, and I get pumped up for it. So I don't know.
I just picture Andy bouncing around the theater like a little kid.
Yeah. It's one of those things where my knee,
More.
My knee just keeps going and stuff. I'm like, this is awesome.
Shake the person in front of you. Oh my god, did you see that?
Yeah.
This is one, every time I watch it, I like it more. I came out after my first viewing of this Godzilla movie, and I did not have that high of an opinion of it. And every time I watch it, this just grows on me more and more. So it didn't make my top 10, but it's, again, right outside. Because it's like, it's growing on me, and it's growing on me. And I'm thinking, man, I really hope, Godzilla vs. Kong lives up to that hype.
Yeah.
So
I only saw this once. I think, Josh, this is what we saw in the Big D, right? We went to go see this in the Big D.
It was
the Big D.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's
What
where
now?
to see it.
We'll get to that later because I have a little something to bring up as my own little surprise category
Okay.
thing. So we'll revisit.
I've only seen it once. I felt disappointed from it coming out of the first viewing, but Mike, upon you saying I should rewatch it, I will have to watch it again and see if it comes around. But as of right now, I've only got one viewing under my belt and did not make my lists.
I'm very interested in this Big D. It's a very large D.
It was a theater specifically for the
Yeah.
format of the screen.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
unfortunate.
Dolby
Fitting.
theaters are definitely something that would be worth watching this movie in, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not what I expected.
Yeah, neither do we. With a title like that, we just had to go.
Understood.
All
Everybody
right.
needs a Big D.
That's what we thought. Mike, number 4.
My number 4 is The Irishman. This is Scorsese, and this is the story. This is a story. I don't want to say true story necessarily. Like, it's a partially true story. It follows a lot of the events surrounding the mob and the Teamsters and Jimmy Hoffa, basically throughout their lives, and all the ties and connections he had with the mob and everything like that during that time. And it's an excellent movie that could have been an hour shorter, but also couldn't have been at the same time. Because this movie's clocking in, I think, at 3.5 hours, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
It is long.
That's a mini series.
It is. It is long. I've heard pretty much everybody say watch it in 2 sittings. I watched it in 1 while I was sick in bed. So I managed because I wasn't getting up and going anywhere anyways. And I was actually really impressed. Yeah, the CGI is not great to make Robert De Niro look younger. I felt like it was okay for Joe Pesci. But the CGI is not the best. You know, he still moves like an old man, even if his face looks like a young man. And that's okay, though, because the acting quality is still there. Joe Pesci is fucking phenomenal in this movie. This might be his best acting performance ever. As a supporting actor, he is unbelievable.
That's saying a lot. I mean, Joe
Yeah.
Pesci's good in a lot of movies, like My Cousin Vinny and Casino.
Goodfellas.
Lethal Weapon.
Yeah.
Home Alone.
Home Alone.
Or was he in Heat?
It's been a while since I watched it.
Pesci, I
As
don't
we all
think
start
so.
to rack our brains, who the fuck is in Heat?
There's a lot of
I don't-
people in Heat. I
I
don't think
don't-
I
Pesci
know, that's what I
is.
mean. The
Yeah,
cast
I
list
don't
is
remember
big for that
Pesci
movie.
from being in Heat. But I mean, he is so good in this. Pacino and De Niro, man, they give you the Pacino and De Niro performance you're expecting. Pacino as Hoffa is decent. He's pretty good, you know.
He hasn't been in a movie in a while. At least I haven't heard of him in a movie in a while.
That's a good question. I don't remember what he's been in recently.
He has a Amazon series actually going right now.
I remember
Oh,
that. Yeah.
Okay.
But I guess that was actually filmed probably after this was.
Yeah, because that's not even out yet.
Yeah, it's coming soon still when you go onto Amazon. But yeah, I mean, this movie, it's classic Scorsese. Every character is well developed. Every scene is well thought out. Every plot line is wrapped up. And you know, not gonna get into any spoilers of it. But man, it's good, and definitely worth watching, even if you have to do it in multiple sittings. Get through this film eventually. Get through it. Appreciate how good it is start to finish. You know, I mean, this is a movie that, you know, because it's so long and tells a very intricate and detailed story of these people's lives, it definitely is worthy of the nominations and maybe awards that it could win.
Did anybody else see this besides Mike? I haven't seen it either.
We have not yet.
I have not seen it.
Okay. You're riding solo, Mike.
I am not surprised. That's the last one I'm really going to get to talk about before anybody else. So I'm glad that I got last one in
All right.
on my own. That's fine.
All right, so we'll move on to my number 4. My number 4 is probably on no one else's list at all. I don't think anybody saw this movie, but Stuber is my number 4.
I did see Stuber.
I fucking loved it. I thought it was hilarious. It surprised the crap out of me. Camille and Dave Bautista, I thought, made an excellent team. Bautista is fucking hilarious, and I liked that there was an actual story reason why he has to take an Uber driver as a policeman. Like,
Yes.
it works for what they do.
And it's a hilarious
And
reason.
it makes perfect sense. Yeah, I just watched it again recently. I thought it was just as funny as the first time. I feel like there's, for anyone that's watched it, I feel like it's quotable. There's and that's the
Yes.
best thing about a comedy is there are quotable stuff in there for if you've seen it. It's great to quote that to other people that have seen it. Just be in on the joke. Yeah, I don't know what it's great. It's funny. If you haven't seen it, if you're curious, just check it out. I thought it was great.
And it's got that big guy, little guy comedy thing going
Yeah,
on for the buddy
yeah.
combo that really wouldn't work anymore if you've seen the recent pictures of Kunail, or
I
however
know.
you say his
Yeah.
name. He bulked up for his role in the Eternals.
Yeah,
He's a lot bigger now. So,
I feel like there's something to be said about like the buddy cop genre. Like there hasn't been a lot of that recently.
At least
so
not
this
good ones.
It fit a niche for me that I feel like I've been why can't I say it? Missing?
there you go. We got there.
There it
I like
is.
mitching.
Yeah,
We've been mitching.
mitching that niche. Yeah, I got it. So yeah, So Mike, I was even surprised you saw it, and nobody else saw that.
I watched it.
Did
Because it
not.
didn't make money.
Came for rental on Amazon.
Okay.
I took a watch for it because you recommended it before. You had told me you really
Yeah.
enjoyed it. I was like, okay, nothing else to watch right now. Why not give this a shot? And I agree. It was hilarious. It was fun. It doesn't make my list or anything, but comedies usually aren't a big hit on my lists. If you look in the past, I'm sure you see that. But yeah, it was absolutely one of the better, if not my favorite comedy of the year. It's pure comedy.
This is up there. Like last year, I think Tag made my list pretty high.
Yes, that was also excellent.
And this one I think is up there, sort of in the same vein. It's just like a really good, solid comedy that I went in with sort of low expectations, kind of was hoping it'd be good, but it was just a lot funnier than I thought. I felt like I was laughing most of the movie, which for me is like, yep, checkbox, we're good. And I think a lot of the reason I framed my list the way I did, it was like, what do I want to rewatch? Like, what feels rewatchable to me? And this is one that's like, I will put this on whenever, just like Tag, and watch it, just have a laugh. It's just like that.
I feel like Tag's better, but
I would agree. Yes,
but
Tag
yeah,
I think is higher on my all-time list and stuff like that for Stuber, but just in this year, that fit that bill for me.
Agreed. I would agree with that.
Back around to Josh, number 3.
Knives Out.
Okay, nice. Paula, number 3.
Toy Story 4.
I'm happy this
All right.
appeared somewhere. I wanted to
Yeah.
fit it somewhere, but it just didn't make it on mine, so I'm glad we get to talk about it.
Didn't
Yeah.
make it? What?
It was going to get an honorable
amazing.
mention from me too.
Okay. So we could talk about Forky. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. No. Tony Hale, I mean, Arrested Development, love it. So I was like, oh, he's going to be in Toy Story. That's amazing. So Tony Hale as Forky really steals the show.
Oh, for
He
sure.
does.
Yes.
I mean, I watch the TV show now. Forky asks the question. My Friday night jam.
Yes.
But the story, I mean, I cried at the end. Aaron will tell you he did not cry at the end. He cried. We're all crying at the end of the movie.
We're never going to let you forget it, Aaron.
So, yeah, you can let him know next time you're gaming with him. Hey, I heard you cried during Toy Story 4. He was sniffling. I know it. I couldn't hold the tears back. Like, the ending was so emotional. It was so good. Like, I couldn't think it could get any better. It does. But yeah, this one got me in the feels real good. I love Bo Peep's story, and I know everyone's like, oh, it's the woman. She, they need to give her a role in it. But no, like, her story was emotional too. It was really good, and I love the arc that they played with Bo Peep and the funky old store with Gabby, and Bunny and Chicky were hilarious.
Yes, they were a highlight for me.
Oh, they were so good. And it was just a really fun story. They took it in a great direction. I loved what they did, and I would definitely see it again. And I will see it again on Disney Plus. Thank you.
I agree with all that stuff, but then I also want to point out that I think Buzz got stupider in that movie, and I can't explain why.
Yeah. Okay.
And that irritated me.
Yeah.
There's
So I think that's why it didn't make my top 10. There was...
Maybe his batteries are low.
It could be.
This did the same for me as Frozen did, in that it again subverted my expectations. I loved that ending.
Yes.
Things that make sense, that are still good, but just that I don't like how it made me feel. Get that crap out of here. It was a good choice. It was, you never would have saw that coming, and it makes sense. It works.
I feel like, Josh, you keep saying like the stuff that subverts your... I feel like every time you say that, it's for a movie where I'm like, part of it is the reason I don't like it too. I think I don't agree with the ending either, and I think as much as I try to be like, well, everybody's entitled to their opinions and stuff, but I think that holds a big bit of it for me. It's like I didn't agree with the way that story ended, and I think that irritated me. Which we can get into specifics after we're done recording and stuff and talk about it, but because I don't think we ever really did a review for the movie to sit down and actually hash it out. But
well, right, and that's I think that's the difference that I mentioned with Frozen, which was there's just things that you don't, there's things that you just don't like, and I'm not going to open this can of worms, but that's what I think goes to the heart of The Last Jedi and into Rise of Skywalker discussion in a lot of ways. Is Last Jedi started to subvert expectations, and people didn't like that. That doesn't mean they were stupid. That doesn't mean they didn't make sense. People just didn't
Right.
like them. And that's okay not to like them, but people conflate what they don't like with what is stupid or wrong.
Oh, yeah, okay. That's fair.
And
Yeah.
and so
Testify.
that's where I think the difference is. Like, I am appreciating things that present me with something that come out of left field that also seem like ballsy moves. And someone can still not like them if it's not like, so with Toy Story, for instance, if you didn't like that story choice as much and how that made you feel, that's fine. But it doesn't sound like you're making the argument, well, that is then the stupid decision. That was a dumb decision. That was this. You
Right,
didn't
yeah.
like it.
Okay.
That
Yes,
is okay.
correct. Yeah.
It's I feel like then we start to see this as Disney is trying to make sure that you're not going into a movie expecting
And just getting what you
the
expect.
same outcome.
The
Yes.
Disney outcome
Exactly.
that they were known
The
for.
Disney
so
outcome.
Totally the
long,
Disney outcome.
The
It was a
happy
good outcome.
ending.
But
Yeah.
you know,
These
we,
are hard
we saw it a
decisions.
lot.
Frozen too. I mean, Anna and Elsa had to make hard decisions. And same with Woody. That was a hard
Mhm.
decision.
Yeah.
My
So-
favorite part of Toy Story 4 was the freakish dead silence marionette puppets that worked in the
Oh, no.
store.
No. That's definitely more in your wheelhouse than...
I love it. And I knew like they hammed it up and played just into everybody that hates how those things look.
Yeah, I didn't get nightmares from Zombieland, but that fucking movie. Jesus.
There you go. That's Brian in a nutshell, folks. no nightmares from Zombieland, but Toy Story 4. That stuck with him for months and still haunts his dreams.
I definitely relate to the fork having an existential crisis. Spork.
I did not see this one.
Nor did I.
Yeah, okay. It's got to be hitting Disney Plus sometime soon, right?
I hope so. I
think
would
it
like to
already-
watch it.
It already
I think it's-
has.
I think it might already be there. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Is it
Well, then
there?
I'll have to watch it.
Yeah.
Because I know it's on home video. Like you
Yeah,
can
it's
buy it
been
on
there.
Blu-ray
It
and
was
stuff
like
already.
May that it released, wasn't it? Something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
'cause
well-
I feel like this and Captain Marvel and like Endgame were some of like the big titles that they were advertising were going to be on Disney Plus because the Netflix agreement had expired for anything released in 2019.
right.
So they're like, hey, as soon as this goes
Yeah.
live, you can get Toy Story.
Okay.
Yeah.
Keanu Reeves was Duke Kaboom. I'm sorry. I almost forgot. Yes, I Canada.
Yeah.
He was a
I'm
good
done
time.
now.
I will definitely say that.
It was a good time. We're all like, why is Keanu Reeves in Toy Story?
Oh, and I have to point out too, anyone that watches Toy Story 4, stay till the very, very end of the credits. There's a payoff there that you're waiting all movie for, and you don't realize it's there until you stay and watch it. It's fucking great.
Will
I
do.
forget what it is. Don't tell me because I'm going to go back and
Yeah.
watch it soon, and I want to be surprised again. But I remember it being fun.
Okay. Number 3, Andy.
Number 3 for me was Star Wars Rise of Skywalker.
You okay? Anything to add?
No, I think the review that we did pretty much gave my thoughts on.
Yeah, really, anytime I feel like we mention Rise of Skywalker, it's just like, go listen to our 3.5 hour review that we did.
Yeah, we talked about that one
Because
enough.
it's there.
Because I listened to the episode, so as soon as I opened the file, and I typically listen to stuff on my commute or at work sometimes, I immediately texted Brian 3.5 hours? question mark,
Star
question mark,
Wars,
exclamation point.
We did a
That
Star
was
Wars.
painful.
Yeah, I think I came back and pretty much like, that's par for the course for Star Wars.
It
I don't know
is.
why you expected anything shorter.
Yeah, at least this made sense that this was for a full film review and not just a trailer.
That's
yeah,
a fair point.
yeah.
Or a discussion about rumors and leaks
Yeah.
and possibilities and Snoke theories and whatever the hell we have discussed as well.
Yeah, there's a plethora of Star Wars stuff out there.
Yeah.
All of it way too long, but it's there.
Yeah.
All right, Mike number 3.
John Wick 3.
Oh, okay. Anything to add?
We talked about it enough already. I'm
Okay.
pretty good on that. Awesome.
Yep. My number 3, Knives Out.
Fair enough.
So we've already talked about that one also.
We're knives pals.
Well written. Yeah. Yes, yeah. Well written, well directed. Fucking great. Go see it. Josh, number 2.
My number 2 we talked about, but much, much earlier. My number 2 is Doctor Sleep. I
Not surprised.
I know I kind of gushed about it before, but I legitimately loved the hell out of this. I thought it was extraordinarily well put together.
That's fair. I say that having not seen it. Paula, number 2.
Endgame.
Ooh, first mention of Avengers
Yeah.
Endgame.
Yeah.
Uh,
You guys know why it's not my number one.
I do, and that's why I'm kind of making the face I'm making, and you know why I'm making that
Yeah. So I know you guys all have it as number one. So I'm not going to talk about it because you guys got it.
Yeah, we'll get
I'm
there.
calling
Or
it,
will I
yeah.
subvert your expectations and surprise
actually,
you?
this is also my number 2.
Good callback.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Now, I don't know what
Yeah,
Andy would have seen.
I'm feeling like I know what the number 1 is because I feel like he said it's higher on his list earlier.
I don't
But
remember.
I'm gonna let him.
But,
I
yeah.
might be wrong about
Yeah,
that.
okay.
We'll get around to it now. Yeah,
It's
I'm
Marriage
curious.
Story.
All right, do we want to touch on Endgame now or later?
I mean,
We've had 2 mentions. Third mention,
is your
we
number
go to
2
town
something that hasn't been mentioned?
on. My number 2, we have mentioned it. Spider-Man: Far From Home
Okay,
is my number 2.
Josh,
Wow.
is your number?
No, mine
Your
was
number?
mine was Doctor Sleep.
So we're on your number 2, Mike.
Yeah.
Oh, mine's Zombieland Double Tap. Number 2.
Okay.
I was gonna say we can get to the number 1s and see where everybody's at here.
Yeah, I think
'Cause then
that,
we-
that rounds out our 2s.
Andy's
We
the
may
only
just have
wild card
Endgame
here, though.
left to talk about. If
What do you
Andy's
mean?
number 2,
Why am I a wild card?
I don't
'Cause-
think he's a wild card. I
Because
think
I
I remember
know-
what
I
should
know
be
what my
his
number
number
one
1.
is.
Yeah, I
And
know
I
us
think you
three, and I
guys
know
are
what Paula's
forgetting.
is.
Okay, so Brian, myself, and Josh are all saying Endgame then.
Correct.
Yeah, Endgame
Paula
is my
is
number
Star
1.
Wars. Andy,
Mhm.
number 1.
It's
We know you
not
can
a
hear us.
wild card. It's a Joker.
Joker.
Oh.
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
I
So
don't
we
know.
got 2
I
big
just
ones to
thought
talk
see that
about
coming.
there.
I didn't think that I would like this movie, and it so far surpassed my expectations. It blew me away. I thought Joaquin Phoenix was just fantastic in it.
Agreed.
And I thought it had a couple of really sort of risky scenes where I was just kind of like, ooh, but those were what kind of made it my number 1, just because it actually made me go like cringe a little bit, and I don't know, I usually don't do that, so that would be why. I don't know. It's just I came out of that movie talking about it a lot, and I like movies that make
that.
yeah, right.
That's fair.
Um,
I haven't seen this one, so I can't contribute.
my
Really? You haven't seen this?
I have not.
I haven't, but I would think, like a movie person, you would.
I almost have to go off people's recommendations because of the horror gore type of stuff. I don't know what this movie does, and I feel like I have to have someone see it for me and basically say, "Can I handle this movie?"
you're okay.
Got it.
It
You're
would
fine.
it might push a little bit, but I think you'd be all right.
It's disturbing, but I would say
Yeah.
that John Wick is much more violent.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
So
fair.
like
All right.
this is more disturbing, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't. It's not something I was like swearing against. Yeah, like I said, I was sort of just waiting to gauge the interest and reviews and stuff like that. So it was on my list of stuff that I should see. I just didn't go out of my way to see it.
For me, I've said before, but I don't think I said it on the podcast at all. Joaquin Phoenix gets an A+++, as many pluses as you want to put on there for his performance. He was fucking amazing. The direction. Todd Phillips did a decent job directing this film. There was a lot of amazing shots. The feel of the movie fits. Everything works. My biggest issue came in with the screenplay. And the story itself was... Okay, so there's a couple things. I don't want to... Again, we can't do spoilers here.
No spoilers.
But there's one character in the movie that, as an actress, appeared on a sitcom that basically plays the exact same role in this movie that she did on the sitcom. and I'm not going to get into that necessarily right now. We'll talk about it off. I see Josh thinking about it, but we'll talk about that after, and I'll explain what I mean by that when we're able to talk about spoilers. But
Okay.
I felt like for this movie to really excel at being what it was trying to be, it needed to end differently.
Okay.
And because it was very predictable, the way that it ended was what I was expecting it to do. If that makes sense, like
Sure, because you know it has to probably you know it. Yeah.
we know the story
In order
of
for
the
where
Joker.
it to
We know
go
where
where
the
it's
Joker
going to go,
goes.
it has to. Yeah, I could see that.
Like, it's the Joker. We know what the Joker is. We know a lot about the Joker. We've seen the Joker in pop culture for, what is it now, 70 years? So,
80.
80. And, yeah, I guess we are in the 20s now, aren't we?
Batman just celebrated his 80th anniversary.
Okay. And so, we know a lot about it, and I feel like it needed to go a different direction to really hit that creative spark for me, where I feel like so much of this movie was creative except for that. And I feel like that's my own personal opinion. Again, this is not fact about the movie. I'm not talking the movie down. It had so many good things about it, and I just couldn't get around the way it ended.
I kind of like the way it ended, but
I like the shot. I like the scene. I like the feel of it. Don't you get what I'm saying here? Like, again, without spoilers, the shots that you see at the end of the film, I think are fantastic. Like that very end that you see, I think is awesome. And it's like, I'm like, yes, this is awesome, but like the rest of the movie led us down a different path, is why I
Okay.
felt differently about the ending, I think, than it would have been. But that's me, personally. And I'll stop there. Josh?
I mean, anybody got anything else to add? Because I got nothing.
Not especially. I think I appreciated it for what it was, and I thought it was a really good actors movie. I don't know. I don't know if I'd ever watch it again. To be honest, I think it's a hard one to sit through. It's very like emotionally taxing. But it's really well done. Don't have anything additional of material consequence to add.
Okay. Like I said, I can't contribute because I haven't seen. I don't know. I guess that's it for Joker. Do we want to do, Paula? Your top one, obviously, Rise of Skywalker was your number one.
It's true.
Anything? I'll give you one more chance. Anything you want to add?
Do we have
For
3
Rise of-
hours? Another 3 hours? No. I mean, yeah. We're living in an age where we have Star Wars. I am alive, and there are Star Wars happening right
Yep.
now, and
Yep.
there are theme parks with new Star Wars in it, and TV shows, and I'm loving life to the fullest right now. I'm living my best Star Wars life right now.
There you go.
There were things I did not agree with, things I wanted to see happen, but who am I? I'm just a fan of billions of fans, and I got some things that I wanted. I really got some things that I wanted, and I got some things that I didn't want. We can't, it's not Paula's world. We're not all living in my world. So I'm going to love this movie. I don't love it as much as The Last Jedi. But there's certain scenes in here that I love more than certain scenes in The Last Jedi. So,
Yeah.
Some of the fight scenes are amazing. Some of the,
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't cry in The Last Jedi, and I cried 3 times in Rise of Skywalker. And it wasn't the first viewing. It was the third viewing when, you're really processing everything a little bit slower. And I appreciated things more that third time. And I know, Brian, you've seen it, 5 times now?
Yeah.
I'm sorry that things haven't changed for you. It's just, to me, every time I saw it, it got better and better. Like,
we cry.
Yeah,
at
regardless of
different
how I
times.
feel, I definitely
Yeah.
think there are. It deserves to be seen twice because there's just too much the first time.
Agreed.
You have
Definitely.
to let it sink in inside of
Yeah.
kind of process, and then
There's
try
a
to
lot
take
that
all that
goes
with you
on.
the second time. Yeah.
I don't understand why we couldn't have had episode 10 or episode 9 part 1. Episode 9 part 2.
Yeah,
That's-
that's episode 9
I
and
was
10.
fine with that.
Part of this is like this is maybe another reason why I'm iffy on it is that I feel like they tried to do 2 movies in this movie. Basically, they tried to do what 8 was supposed to. Like they made their own 8 and they shoved it in this movie.
That's
the way I
actually
see it.
yeah.
Mhm.
And
I'm disappointed in JJ. I had the highest of hopes because The Force Awakens rocked my world.
I agree. Yes.
So I'm disappointed in him. It's still my number 1. It's a Star Wars movie, and I'm happy as a clam.
and that's where I say
yeah, I
like,
mean, I'm still gonna rewatch it. It's no problem there.
we cry at different things because there was nothing that jerked at me in this movie except for like one moment that we won't talk about. Last Jedi spoilers off the table. At this point, I think, like that movie really got me when it flashes back to Luke, projecting himself across the galaxy, and he's there hovering over the rock, and he's just holding himself up and doing that at Last Jedi. That choked me up. Nothing in Rise of Skywalker really got me except for one little thing that wasn't. It was a little note that that they threw in there that we talked about. I talked about it on our review.
Yeah, we got full spoilers in the review,
Yeah.
so feel free to
But
go back
other than
there.
that little bit, nothing got me. So I guess that's just the difference between people, and that's what makes the world great, right? Is we all have different opinions on things. Different things affect us in different ways.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's a good thing.
All right, so there's one more movie we can talk about on everybody's list is Endgame. Avengers Endgame made.
I didn't see it.
Really? Because it made your number 2.
Ouch.
Let me trigger the Star Wars folks and say that is a way to end a series.
That was kind of my lead in is Endgame is what I wanted Rise of Skywalker to be.
Yes.
It was such a great ending and cap and culmination of all the stuff that
Cap.
came before. It paid it was a nice homage to all the stuff, Marvel Easter eggs, fan service, whatever you want to call it. It's all in there. The story's still great. It builds to an epic conclusion, which is satisfying, tearful, heartfelt. Like it's so fucking
And
good.
paves the way forward for a universe that you want to watch continue
Yes.
in a
Yes.
meaningful
Good point.
way. And it leaves that door open, and here we are awaiting for that to really get going again. Because Spider-Man was technically, I guess, the end. They
Mhm.
call
Yeah.
that the end of Phase 4 was the Spider-Man movie. So here we are awaiting to see what happens next. With bated breath. We're all like, where are they going next? We all want to know. And I feel like, to me at least, that's a big difference between Endgame and Star Wars, and why Endgame is so high on my list and Star Wars is much lower, is because I have more anticipation as far as where Marvel is going to go with all this future content we know about than I do for Star Wars, which seems over.
Yeah.
So
We have like the Clone Wars coming, which is still, so many years before the events of Rise of Skywalker. We have more of that series coming. Evidently more Rebels coming. Again, way before any of these events, but still stories I want to get wrapped up. But the future of Star Wars is completely unknown, completely unpaved out. We have no idea where they're going, if they're going anywhere, or if they're going to go into the past. We have no clue.
It's me.
Where-
I'm the next Skywalker.
Whereas Endgame, we have this path laid out before us now, and I think, given what they accomplished the first time around, I mean, seriously, guys, if you haven't seen Endgame, what the hell is going on? But
Yeah.
I mean,
I
even
think-
during, sorry, go ahead.
I think there was probably a 3.5 hour review for that as well, right?
That was another
a
big
long
one.
one.
Yeah.
And like for me, even just the credits in Endgame were enough to get me choked up for what those people did over the last
Yes.
10
Yeah.
years. And
Good call out.
yeah, I mean, the appreciation for everybody to put so much work into that over a 10-year period. Can't say thank you enough to all of them. Once
And
again.
there's something to be said too. I think when we did our review, Like, I remember, we dissect some of the plot points and some of the stuff doesn't make sense to us and try to hash it out and figure out how it could work and what we're missing and stuff like that. All those sort of complaints and stuff aside, I'm pretty sure I still gave this movie a 10 out of 10 when we reviewed it because it's just so fucking good.
If I recall, it was like 9.75, if not for the time travel stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it just... even
So I
that-
don't
just a
remember
tiny bit.
ever rating a movie a 10 out of 10 in any of the ratings or reviews we've done before. So if that wasn't a sign that this was going to be my number one for the year.
I mean, I was still anticipating going into Rise of Skywalker, the first viewing. I was still anticipating that taking that
That's true.
spot. As I'm going
Yeah.
into the theater, I was like, wow, that took, that's because this is going to be my number one because it's Star Wars, it's the end, it's everything. As I'm coming out, obviously that was different for me.
So I'll tell you guys a secret. I got off work early today, so by the time I got home and settled with some things, it was still like 3:30 or 4 o'clock. But I was like, I've had kind of a hard, shitty week, especially at work. So I was in the middle of Endgame when I had to stop so we could start recording.
Well,
And
you can watch it. It's
So you're going to
Friday.
pick up at the
Yeah,
best
and
part whenever you come back after this episode.
I stopped literally just as Tony, Cap, and Thor are about to step out onto the plane
yeah.
to meet
Yeah,
Thanos.
so the best
So I like
part.
the last 35 minutes of the movie that I am absolutely going to go watch when we're done.
Yeah, I might just do the same thing. I might just skip to that part and watch it anyways. Just because.
Paula, Andy, anything to add for Endgame?
It was the culmination of 22 movies,
Culmination.
23 movies.
20.
I think it was
At that point,
22. I think
22.
Spider-Man was 23.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I lost
Okay.
count now that we're one past.
But I think it was a perfect culmination of all those movies, and they tied a bow on it and wrapped it real nice, and everything just felt so incredibly right with it, and you get all the emotions in it. It was really good.
Agreed. And maybe if there was a different result for Loki, it might have been my number one. Yep.
Well, no spoilers.
I did not spoiler anything.
No, that's what I mean. Like, I can't rebut that
Yeah.
because I can't do spoilers.
You're stuck.
Yeah, I'm stuck. I can't do spoilers and rebut that statement.
Checkmate.
Well, okay.
So before we do other categories, I did tally the scores here
Oh boy, I
for
lost.
Rotten Tomatoes.
I lost.
Yeah, do we want to go like first to or last to first as far as
Yes.
ratings here? Who got the best?
Sure.
All right, so let's see. Starting with, we'll do critics scores. All right, critics scores. Andy's at the back with 76 out of his movies.
It's still not bad though.
Not
76 is a
accounting
pretty good score.
I'm number 4 at 79. Coming up to tied for, no, I'm sorry, third, Mike at 80.
Uh-oh.
Tied for first, Paula and Josh at 82.
Hey, look at that.
Nice.
Hey, there you go. You guys got the critic scores.
And that's cool because we had very little overlap.
Yeah.
That's true. That's also weird because you had very little overlap.
Fan scores, we have Andy at the back with 82.
Hey, we do better with the fans than we do with the critics. That's cool.
That's true. Paula, number 4, 83.
Nice. Thank you.
Mike and I tied for, or no, sorry, damn it. I keep screwing up the order. Josh and I tied 85 for second place, I guess. First place, Mike with 90.
I'm a
For the
man
fan
of the
score.
people.
Populist.
Populist. I'm a man of
Cryptic.
the people.
So based on Rotten Tomatoes, what's funny is like, because of the review bombing that Captain Marvel got, it's a 49 by the fans.
Thanks,
Really?
Captain.
I didn't
all
know
you
that.
guys that put Captain Marvel on
Yeah.
there down.
Which almost like you have to put an asterisk next to everybody's score that has that in there because that's
I
just.
still got a 90% though.
handicap.
That's
I
still
get a
really
handicap.
good regardless.
Well, you didn't have Captain Marvel in your list.
No, but I'm saying I got 90 though. Like
were
90
the
is
only
a really
one.
No, I didn't
good
have it
number.
either.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Josh didn't have it
Well,
either.
there you go. Win is legitimate.
All right, so let's go around. Try to, I guess, quickly go through these lists. If we have, again, no more than 3 per person. Paul, let's start with Paula because you had your lists that were somewhat different than
Yeah.
ours. So if you just want to run down why your lists are what they are.
Well, as we were talking, and we were talking about Keanu Reeves, I saw a movie called Always Be My Maybe
Yes.
Yeah.
on Netflix in May.
It was a good movie.
Oh, it was so good.
Yes.
So
Is that one of your honorable mentions?
It is my honorable mention.
Okay.
It was a good movie.
Especially if people love like those throwbacks where you like the Goldbergs or Fresh Off the Boat, Ali Wong and Randall Park, hilarious. But I didn't see. So I was surprised that I didn't see The Lion King. Surprised that I didn't see Rocket Man, Knives Out, or The Dead Don't Die. So I'm very sad that I didn't see those movies. They're still and How to Train Your Dragon 3. I'm sorry, Brian. I didn't see it, but I will. So those are movies that I really need to see. And I think now after this podcast I need to see Yesterday. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you can feel free to report back after you get to any of those off your list.
thanks. We'll do.
And then what was your disappointed list? How did you frame your disappointed?
You know what? I was disappointed and surprised I didn't see those movies.
Okay, all right. So it's
a
all sort of the
combination.
same
It's
category.
all together.
Okay.
I'm gonna do much better this year and make you guys more proud of me next year.
See, now the podcast can hold you accountable.
Yep.
Yes.
We'll revisit next year and see where you're at.
I had so many free movies, like movie club, that I needed to use. Like, oh wow, I'll have to pay for a movie for a while.
There you go. It's the best way to see a movie. Free movies.
Yes,
Indeed.
exactly.
All right, Josh, we'll do your 3 categories: honorable mentions, surprise, disappointments.
Okay, so I'm doing all of mine right now. Okay, my honorable mentions. All right, so I approach this because I always like to point out things that I want to make sure get some airtime, but that don't necessarily mean like this was my 11, 12, and 13. I wanted to point out Us, which I really dug. That was the Jordan Peele follow-up to Get Out. I want to point out a movie called Captive State, which I think I've stated before that I will watch pretty much anything John Goodman is in, and that was no exception with this, but it was actually really cool. It was kind of like living in an alternate world where I think it's like a post-alien landing on Earth and what happens there, but it was really cool, I thought.
I feel like that's vaguely familiar. I feel like I saw a trailer for that and sort of remembered it, but then completely forgot about it.
Yeah, I was probably one of like 3 people in the theater, and I think I saw like the last week it was going to be out, but it was only in theaters for like 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay.
Maybe that, but I really dug it. And then I'll actually throw a bone to Terminator Dark Fate. I had a good time with that.
Okay.
Do
you want to do your surprises
yes.
and disappointments?
So I'll go with my surprises. The first was I will shout out Dr. Sleep again because I did not expect it to be anywhere near as enjoyable as it was.
Yeah.
I added, actually, during the discussion, I added Ford versus Ferrari to a surprise.
Yeah, okay.
I had a good time. It was a very compelling story. And then Paula, I'm glad you mentioned Always Be My Maybe because I forgot about that, but that was really good. I had another
Good.
Netflix.
Surprising.
Yeah, I had another Netflix movie on mine, which was Murder Mystery. It's Jennifer Aniston and Sandler movie. I actually thought it was pretty good. It knew exactly what it was. It wasn't trying to be anything else. It was fun.
Okay.
Disappointments. This was the easiest. Like I said before, this is like the easiest list to ever come up with of any year we've done this.
A long list. It was actually tough to narrow it down. To a few.
Yeah. So I'm going to quickly mention 4, but only because the 4th one is so bare bones. Makes this definition because it's Lego Movie 2, but it's for the reasons that were stated during the discussion. It does not mean that I thought it was bad in any way. It just didn't hit the mark for the high bar that I had set for Lego movies. It was still most of what I wanted, but just missed the mark. The other three quickly were Men in Black International, which I don't know how you F up Men in Black when you're trying to reboot it with Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson. I don't know how you do that, but they figured it out.
So that made my list too as a disappointment because I feel like as much charisma as Hemsworth has, he came off such as unlikable frat boy that I was like, this is not fun.
Yeah, they did not lean into the strongest aspects of those actors' abilities.
No.
And the next one, X-Men Dark Phoenix, because even though I didn't have high hopes for it, it was even way freaking worse.
See, it didn't make any of my lists, but I will disagree. I thought it was actually better than I expected, but I went in with the lowest of expectations for that movie, so maybe that's why it's a little bit higher
I
for me.
would agree with Brian on that. I expected a 2 and I got a 4.
I think I expected at least, like, I expected like a middle of the road 5, at least to not be, and I got like a 1.
Yeah, you guys, you were expecting way too much if you were expecting a 5 out of that.
I will say,
I was thinking they couldn't F up that badly. So at the minimum, they would just make something mediocre.
I will say, at least it started to get one thing right. I just wanted more of it. Was I felt like they started getting the relationship between Jean and Scott better.
Yes.
Like Cyclops actually had shit to do in this movie,
For
which
once.
was a first for any of the other movies.
Yeah.
I could not stand the actor that played Cyclops. He fucking pissed me off every time he talked. I was like, shut up.
I will agree. He's
Did you
not
see Ready Player One?
Is that the same dude?
Andy, did you
Is
see
that
Ready-
the same
Yeah.
dude?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, he
Yes.
fucking sucked in Dark Phoenix.
I agree. I actually don't like him as
And I-
Cyclops, but they started getting the
and I-
relationship right. I agree with Brian on that. Go ahead.
and I loved Ready Player One, but no.
I agree.
I didn't realize I struck such a chord with Andy.
Cyclops is like a big fucking X-Men character, man. That's,
Yeah,
like he's
like,
the leader since
He's the fucking leader of the
issue
group.
1.
Yeah, I still don't think they've got him right completely,
No.
but compared to what the shit they had him do in the last couple movies, I actually thought he had some meat.
Oh,
in this
yeah,
movie.
like he does more. But I don't know. I tend to agree with Andy. I don't know that was a good thing, but they did start to get the relationship better. I don't know. I'm back and forth on that, but I don't know. It
I think we're missing the important point that of the small population of movies Andy was able to see, he unfortunately had to make Dark Phoenix one of them.
that's a fair
Well, he
point.
said he had one disappointment, right? Is that going to make that
That
list?
spoiler alert. If it's my turn, Dark Phoenix is my disappointment.
There you go.
But I will say there was one thing I really, really fucking loved about this movie.
Okay.
And that was
About
when
X-Men?
and that's when Nightcrawler does some shit.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
true.
Oh
And,
yeah,
like, just-
he gets a little nasty.
He gets real fucking nasty, and I was like, yeah, fucking go, buddy.
That marks like I'd say the third time in my life I've seen them do Nightcrawler real justice in twice in a movie and once in Marvel Ultimate Alliance when he's storming Doom Castle. In that
Oh, such a
cutscene
good
is
cutscene.
so fucking good, and this had that feel to it. So I will agree there.
Real quick, my last disappointment was my number 5 on my anticipation list, Glass.
That's a fair disappointment.
Glass, I knew from the first time I saw it this year was going to make this list.
I agree.
I cannot believe he effed up something so simple and made something so... I don't say
Say
minimal.
it.
It's
Say
just-
the word.
No, I'm trying to... It's like it was not hard to do something way freaking better. I don't... I know that sounds shitty and what to say, but it's like it's like barely anything was done. I don't know. I'd
agree.
have to spoil a lot for to justify it, but
Yeah.
it just
don't,
like when I watched how the ending played out, I'm like, wait, we're in the third act, and this is the third act, and this is what's happening, and that's what you're. Are you shitting me?
Yeah.
I don't know how you did that, but I had such high hopes for Glass because Split was on my anticipation. Split was at least like I don't know between maybe like 5 and 7 on my favorites of 2017. yeah, no more for Glass because I'll
Leave it
just
to
get
M.
mad.
Night Shyamalan to start a series, make it look great, and then come back with a what the fuck? Why'd they do that?
Yeah, so
I feel like
That's
he's
my
done
piece.
that many times for me. But I'll move. Go ahead, Andy.
Do you have one honorable mention and one surprise, Andy?
My honorable mention is Alita Battle Angel. I know it had its flaws, but I enjoyed most of that movie.
I'll agree with
good
that.
call.
The flaws being why the fuck was the boyfriend even there? But
I agree.
That's yeah.
and then contrary to everyone else's opinion, I was actually surprised by Men in Black International because I expected it to be a 1, and we got like a 4 or 5. So
Touche.
I
Fair
thought
enough.
I thought it was enjoyable. I went into it going, "Oh God, not again!" But no, I just
See, now that makes me
I
want
liked
to
it.
see it because I was fully expecting a 1, and I didn't bother to see it because of that.
Well, there you go.
I
So
enjoyed
maybe,
it.
so maybe it will surprise me too.
If you take it lightly, as you probably should,
It's Men in Black.
yeah, you probably will be like, "Huh, maybe that didn't." I mean, it's not any of the other 3 Men in Blacks because they're all way better. Even number 2, which
Yeah.
is
Number 2.
number
2.
2. Yeah, I mean, it's not anywhere close to the original 3. So, but
I think
It
the story
surprised me.
of International is good. I like where the story went.
Yes.
The characters I don't give a shit about, and that's a problem.
That was the problem with Kong Skull Island. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
The characters, if you don't
Yeah.
care about them, what the hell's the point of the story?
All right, Mike, we'll swing around to you. Honorable mentions, surprises, disappointments.
We talked about Detective Pikachu making my honorable mentions already. The other 2 I have, one is Six Underground from Michael Bay on Netflix, starring Ryan Reynolds. This was actually a lot of fucking fun.
Oh, great.
And start to finish, the action was good. The pacing was good. I watched it, and if Ryan Reynolds wasn't in it, I probably would not have put this on. To be completely honest, but
Fair.
Ryan Reynolds being in it gets me to watch. It got me to watch, and I was actually really contemplating whether this was going to make the top 10 or not. Obviously, because it's on the honorable mentions.
It was written by the Deadpool and Zombieland guys, right?
As far as I know, yeah.
I think you're right.
I think it was Reese Wentworth, or what the hell's her name? Reese Miller.
Yeah,
with
Miller.
Yeah.
And definitely worth a watch, guys. It's out there on Netflix. Everybody has Netflix these days, just about. So check out Six Underground.
And it is a
It's,
Netflix original, so just so you
yeah.
think like you won't get it other places.
Yeah, you're not going to see this anywhere but Netflix. But it is pretty damn good. It would fit my surprises, but I wouldn't call it a surprise because Ryan Reynolds. I expected it to be fun, and it was. The other one I have on honorable mentions is Midsummer. Midsummer is a very creepy, disturbing horror film that is very, I guess, like cerebral, more in its tone, and it is like it's fucked up. Like in the end, that's the best way I could put that movie is it's fucked up. But I thought it was really well done. So like, there's those levels of fucked up where like, what was that movie that got so much like good reviews last year? That was really fucked up. The horror movie.
In 2019?
Yeah, the one with
2019 or 2018?
2018. Not this past year. The previous year.
The same creator, Hereditary?
Yes, Hereditary. That's
Okay.
it. I like this a lot more than I liked Hereditary, personally. I know Hereditary got a lot of people loving it and everything, but man, if you're into that type of horror, definitely do not miss Midsummer. Not everybody's into that kind of thing, though. So I'll end on a good note, so I'm going to do disappointments and then surprises. So disappointments for me, obviously The Lion King. That is the number one disappointment for me this year. Good Lord, you could have done so much better than that. You could have taken it in so many fun ways, and you just didn't do it. And then you took the best part of the original, and you just shit on it. So no thank you. Another disappointment for me was...
Review in a nutshell.
Another disappointment for me was Brightburn. I wanted this to be so much better than it was.
Okay.
I feel like this could have done some more, so much more than what it did. And I was just, I don't know, I came out of the theater feeling like, meh, whatever. And I was hoping to come out of the theater being like, holy shit, that was insane. And I didn't get that.
So before you move on, this was a fun story that I can't remember if I told on the podcast or not. I'm at the movie theater. I forget what I was going to see. There's a husband and wife. It's definitely a Pittsburgh story. Husband and wife looking at movies and stuff, and the wife asked the husband, "Brightburn, what the hell is that?" The husband goes, "Oh, it's the story of Superman, but he's a jagoff."
That's perfect. Superman, but he's a jagoff. That is, wow. Wow.
I was like, "Well, you're not wrong. It's pretty spot on."
Yeah, I guess that is a pretty good way to put it. Yeah, it just did not hit the notes that I wanted it to hit in a lot of different ways. It was decent, but I wanted it to be amazing, and it wasn't. I think I held it on too high a loft. The other disappointment for me is Hellboy. God, that was awful. David Harbour playing Hellboy. I was wondering
if actually anyone watched that movie.
I did. And to me, the idea of David Harbour playing Hellboy was enough to get me in, because David Harbour's fucking awesome, and he works for the attitude, for everything, for Hellboy for me. But man, that was a bad movie. I can't get any other way around that. It was just bad. So I'll move on to surprises. Detective Pikachu, we already said. I only have one other surprise, but I do want to mention one movie I didn't see that hasn't been mentioned after that. But the one surprise I have left is Child's Play. Here's a movie I totally expected to suck. And Child's Play was actually pretty damn good. A lot better than I expected it to be. Not good enough to make my top 10 list or anything, but I expected that to be just an awful reboot. But let me tell you something. Mark Hamill is perfectly creepy as Chucky. And it works. The turn they put on it for me worked. They turned the whole voodoo thing from the original on its head, and it works.
I'll give you that, yes.
I really enjoyed what they did with it. So the didn't see it list that I had, we mentioned them before. I didn't mention Rocket Man either. But the big one I didn't see that I think really had the potential to make the list, because it's from Taika Waititi, and that's Jojo Rabbit. I did not get to the theater to see Jojo yet, and unfortunately it doesn't look like I'm going to get to, because it's probably out of theaters by now.
No, I think it's back in theaters.
Yeah, I just saw a commercial
back
today
in?
that said they're putting it back for the award season.
Well, then I will be getting my butt back there, because I was sick twice for almost the whole damn November and December, so I didn't get to go. So I am glad to see it back in theaters, and I will get out to see it. Taika's amazing, so I am looking forward to checking that out for sure.
Cool. I'll try to hit the ones we haven't mentioned. Honorable mentions. We talked about most. I had Frozen 2, Shazam, Toy Story 4 in my honorables. I had one in there just in case nobody else touched on it. Was The Report from Amazon with Paula's guy, Adam Driver.
I like that he's my guy. Thank you.
He's really good in the movie. I haven't seen anything he's not great in. The movie's a little bit heavy. It goes through the torture after 9/11 of prisoners and stuff like that. I just thought it was very well written. It's a very I like the thrillers like that where it's just you hang on the dialogue and what they're saying to each other and how it all plays out and works. And it's a movie that plays a lot into these are the facts and this is why you're wrong. And just from internet culture, even now, I appreciate movies like that a lot, because no one researches shit anymore. They just want to read a headline somewhere and say, this is what I heard. Well, you're wrong, so do your fucking research.
This is what I saw in the comment section.
Yeah. So, check it out if you're curious. I thought it was good. Surprises, I'm with Josh. Terminator Dark Fate, I thought surprised the crap out of me. I did not expect that to be good, and it was. Obviously, Stuber surprised me, so that made my top 10. That's in there. Another one that I heard was good, but I checked it out anyway. It still came out pleasantly surprised, was Booksmart. I thought Booksmart was really, really good. Disappointments, I think Josh touched on the other ones I had, which was Glass, Men in Black, and I threw Rise of Skywalker in there just from expectation standpoint. I just expected something very, very high for me, and I just left feeling not there. So it hit a disappointment list for me. Yeah, I think that's it. I don't think there's anything else I need. Yeah, Glass was another one I felt like coming off of Split and Unbreakable too was just such. I had high expectations for that, and it fell apart. Like Josh said, fell apart in the third act. I've only seen it once. I kind of want to see if I feel the same way watching it again, but yeah, that first viewing did not make me want to rush back and try again, and it just kind of soured me from it.
Second viewing, I just turned it off halfway through. To be completely honest, like I got bored. I was like, I'm not doing this again. I gave it another shot because of the other movies, but it didn't work.
And Brian, I forget. Refresh my memory. Was that one last year that like you had not even watched Split until like about a year ago, like just before Glass came out?
Yeah. I think you had been talking about Split, and I still was on the fence, and then I think I had heard rumblings of it tying into Unbreakable, and it's like, well, okay, now I gotta check it out. And I think you found it used for me somewhere.
Yes.
And I still put it on the shelf and hadn't watched it. And then when I heard Glass was coming as sort of like the third in a trilogy for Unbreakable and Split, I was like, okay, well, now I gotta watch Split and see what's going on. So I finally gave it a shot, and I did actually like it more than I expected, which is, even that movie is not really in my wheelhouse, but I still did like it. And had I not known about the Unbreakable tie-in, the end of that movie would have blown my fucking mind.
It did that for a lot of people that didn't know going in that it was tied to Unbreakable,
right.
And that's what got it that like traction. Was like, wait a second.
Yeah, so coming off of those two, Unbreakable I think holds up really well, especially now compared to superhero culture and stuff we're into now. I think Unbreakable plays a lot better now than it did when it was released. And Split was a surprise. Coming off those two, I thought Glass was really going to do something for me, and kind of just fell flat. So, I don't know. All right, I think that's where we're going to leave it, right? We've gone through everything.
I think so.
All right, that's it for us. If you've enjoyed the show, please support us. Leave a 5-star rating and review. Give us a share on social media. You can follow, subscribe, keep up with the show. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, Google. We're hosted on Anchor. As always, you can find us on Facebook. You can search Bry Guy and his Super Friends. Go to facebook.com/Bry Guy Super Friends to find our page. You can leave us questions, comments, topic suggestions. If you just want to chat with us, that's a good place to do it. You can email us, bryguysuperfriends@gmail.com. Try it. I won't see it. It's fine. We'll get there eventually. You can tweet us on Twitter @BGSuperFriends. Those we'll see. We can converse there also. And on behalf of my guests, Paula, Andy, Josh, Mike, and myself, thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.